The defendant, Lyle Menendez, is on the witness stand. I'll remind you that you're still under oath. Would you state your name again for the record, please?
Joseph Lyle Menendez.
All right.
Mr. Menendez, I've placed a picture up on the board. Do you recognize that photograph?
That's my dad.
That's a previously marked exhibit, Your Honor. I'll get the number at the break. You were telling us the last thing on Friday about a talk that you had with your father when you were 13 years of age. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I believe that you told us that you had heard some noises that made you believe that your brother was being molested by your father. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, as soon as you heard those noises, did you go right up and confront your dad?
No.
What did you do?
Well, I was hearing the noises for a long period of time, and after a while, I felt that I should talk to my dad about it. And so it took me a couple days, but I finally did. One time when he came up to the bedroom, I heard him, and I sort of spent the day thinking about it, and then I went and I told him.
Okay. Why did it take you? You said you heard the noises for a period of time. Did you immediately think you knew what it was?
No, I didn't know what it was when I was talking to him, really. I had just guessed.
Why didn't you go up to him immediately?
Well, I just felt that if I decided to talk to him about it, he would probably beat me up, and he would probably get incredibly angry, and he may hurt my brother. I just wasn't sure what was going to happen, and so I thought about doing nothing. I really did. I felt like at some point I didn't really have a lot of choice. I should just go talk to my dad, and maybe he would talk to me about it. And I felt like he might, and he did.
He did talk to you about it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you finally decided to talk to him, did you just go up and confront him right then, or did you prepare in some way?
I prepared just by sitting in my bedroom, and pretty much the same things I did when the stress level got real high. I put on this little Lionel Richie single I had, and I just turned the lights out, and I just tried to concentrate. And my dad had taught me to do this, and I tried to just relax because I was just so tense, and I wanted to be relaxed, and at the same time brace myself because I thought he would, he probably would do something to me.
Did you tell your mom you were going to talk to your dad?
No.
Did you tell your mom what you thought was happening to your little brother?
No.
Why not?
My mom wasn't going to do anything about it.
Why didn't you think your mom was going to do anything about it?
Well, at that point, I was 13, and my relationship with my mother was extremely bad, and she was really out of control, and it would just be a lot worse, I felt, if I talked to my dad about it. I also thought it'd be worse if I talked to my brother about it first, because I figured he would deny it, and then he might go to Dad. I thought it was better to just surprise my dad, just talk to him about it, and not tell anybody else. But I wasn't going to tell my mother.
Did you talk to your brother about it afterwards, that you had had this talk with your dad?
Yes.
And did he tell you that things had changed for him? Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
He said that he never admitted that anything was going on, but he said that he was glad I talked to Dad and that things had gotten better and things had changed. Didn't use those exact words, but left me with the impression that it was resolved.
You talked about having this talk with your father and preparing for it. Did you have a lot of talks with your dad as you were growing up?
Many talks.
Now, were these talks where you give your ideas and he gives his ideas and there's an exchange of information? Or were they different than that?
It was an exchange of information. It depends what talks you're talking about. I mean, there were ones at the dinner table, which would be more of question answer.
Let's do that. Were there serious discussions at the dinner table in your house?
Very serious.
And starting at about what age?
Since I can remember, but certainly in the Muncie house.
And in the Muncie house, you were 6, 7, 8?
6, I think. When I was definitely 6. When maybe I was 5 too when I was there. I'm not sure.
And what would happen when your dad would come home?
Dad would.
Sustained.
We're talking about, okay, when you're 6 and in the Muncie house.
Right.
What was it like when your dad came home?
It was extremely tense in the house because my mother, not just because of my mother, we were very tense. I was certainly nervous about my dad coming home. He'd want to know about my whole day. We might be going out to a practice after he got home. It just depended, but whatever happened, it was going to be very intense. My dad was just that kind of a guy. It was very sharply intense, and my mother would basically start to be like a recluse in the house. Didn't want to talk to you, didn't want to even be around anybody, either go into her bedroom or just kind of hang out in the kitchen, and you stayed away from her because she was prone to just explode because she was nervous. And he would come home, and in a way, it was kind of like a celebration when he came home because Mom would be at the door and we would all run up, and usually he would kind of give me a quick hug like that, and basically just me. And then he would put his things on the ground and go to change if he wanted to put a warm-up suit on, depending what was happening.
Okay, would he hug Erik the way he hugged you?
No.
Would he hug your mom?
No. Sometimes he would say, "Hello, Kitty."
Did you seem to get the special attention?
Yes.
And at the dinner table, would he have talks with you?
Yes, he'd have talks. It was basically with just me. Occasionally talk to my brother, but very rarely.
Did he talk to your mother?
No, my mother did not eat dinner with us. She just kind of walked around and went into the kitchen. And we always had kitchens where she could be in the kitchen and the dinner table was right there. And she would never sit down. Or I can't remember her sitting down. But even in California, when she sat down, nobody talked to her. So.
When your dad sat down with you, would he then focus his attention on you?
Yes.
Would he ask you about your day?
Yes.
And was that standard? He said he would always ask you about your day?
Yes.
Can you show me now how that conversation would go?
Objection, Vegas to time.
We're talking when he's 6 years old in Muncie still, Your Honor.
I don't think I can remember when I'm 6.
Okay, 7? Do you remember at 7?
I remember when I was involved in the tennis at 7, and he would want to know every detail.
How would the conversation go? What would he say?
He would be at the head of the table. I would be always on his right. Actually, no. I would be on his left, and my brother would be on the right, next to the kitchen. And he would just start eating, and he would say, "So, how'd it go today?" And the ones I recall the most are the ones where it didn't even go so well. And I would say, "Oh, it went great, and I did real good today." And he would say, "That's not what I heard." I would say, "No, Dad, I did real well." And he would say, "Well, take me through the day." And I'd always start with getting up. I got up, I got ready. I did my stretching exercises before the day began.
What would you tell him about the stretching? Would you just say, "I did my stretching exercises," or would you have to be more specific than that?
Usually whatever we had decided, like the day before or that week, we were going to stretch is what I told him. I can't remember right now, but if he didn't like what I was saying, he would say, "Well, let me see what you did." And I would get up and I would just show him basically how I worked my legs and my arms and my hip area and my neck, and went through the exercises or the specific ones that he wanted. And then he would say, "Okay, that's good. You can come back." And I'd come back, and he'd say, "Okay, what happened next?" And I said, "Well, I got ready and went to school." And always I would forget something, and he would say, "No, you just got ready and you went to school? That's it?" And I said, and I would usually remember, I would say, "No, I thought about my day first. I sat down like you said, and I thought about it." Sometimes it would be that I ate the foods that he wanted me to eat before, whatever it was. Usually it was like I thought about the day. He'd say, "Well, what did you think about it? You didn't just sit there and think about your day." I said, "No, I went, thought about concentrating at school, being polite. I thought about staying away from the other kids and thinking about what I was going to do after school with sports, and then what I was going to work on in the evening." And I basically went through all the things that I would normally say. And then he would say, "Good, good." And then I'd go through the day, and I'd say, "Well, then I went to school, and I had this first class," and he would usually say, "I don't want to hear about the school right now. Tell me what happened afterwards." And so I'd come back and say, my mom picked me up, and we went to Sportorama, and I had my lesson, and he'd say, "Did you work on your backhand like we talked about?" I'd say, "Yeah." And my mom would be like in the kitchen somewhere, and during these conversations, occasionally, she would just make a noise and shake her head. She'd go, and my dad would grab me, and he'd yank me out of the table, and he'd just drag me down to the room, and he'd say I was lying. And I would be in the room, and then he would go, and he would punish me.
Did this happen every night at dinner?
Not like that.
Were you asked about your day every night at dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And how long would it take you to go through your day for him?
About an hour. Not even. Maybe 45 minutes, depending on how much detail he wanted or how much he wanted out of the lesson. Sometimes he just cut the dinner short and wanted me to talk to me downstairs.
Do you have a basement downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yes.
And when you had finished telling him everything that happened during the day, if you did it well, would you get, if you had thought about all the things he told you to think about and done all the exercises the way he told you to do them and had reported it all perfectly, would he show some sort of approval or be happy about it?
Sometimes he would reach and take my hand and say, "That's a good boy."
Just ruffle your hair? Did he ask you about other things at the table besides how your day went and exactly what you did?
Well, after we did the day, we talked about, he basically gave some sort of lecture on things that we had talked about before. He'd talk about battles, and it was mostly historical. He'd talk about the Roman period and generals and it's the philosophies that sometimes he'd incorporate into the way he was at work with these philosophies and how I should be at school and on the soccer field or with my other people that play tennis, my competitors, and go through different, basically a philosophical talk.
Would he ask
Sometimes he'd want it. I'm sorry.
Would he ask you questions?
Yeah, sometimes he'd want answers or my response to what he'd said. So I'd give him my response.
What if you didn't know the answer?
Sometimes, if it depended on what the question was, but if I could look it up, he'd make me go find the passages in his little library of books that he had, which was in the other living room. And I'd spend my time searching. If I found it, I came back. If enough time went by, he'd say, "Just forget about it, just come back." And then I'd come back and sit down, and he'd tell me the answer. Sometimes I would get a lot of answers wrong, and he would just sort of start tensing up and shaking his head, and he'd sort of just explode.
What would happen when he exploded?
He'd just reach out and he'd grab you. And usually with me, he'd open the sliding glass window and he'd just throw me outside onto the porch. And just close the door.
How long would you stay outside?
A few hours.
This happened only in the summertime?
No. I remember the winter times most.
And
Because then I would go into the nice dog house that they made. It had the wood chips in it, and it was warm, and I'd hang out in there.
Did you keep any provisions in there for these times?
I did in Pennington.
What did
In
you
Muncie, I didn't.
keep? In Pennington, what type of things did you keep in the doghouse for when you were thrown out?
I kept the blanket that I kept in there always, and toilet paper I kept in there. Sometimes food.
So this is something that went on for most of your life living in the house, is that you'd be thrown outside as a punishment?
Until I was like 17. I'll remember it after that.
Would Erik be asked questions at the table?
Sometimes he would be asked questions. Most of the time he would try to answer a question or something, and my dad would just tell him to shut up. And he was very rough with Erik. Erik just sort of tried to get involved a lot, and that would really upset my dad.
Erik wanted your dad's attention?
He wanted to be part of what was going on. And we just wander into the conversations. And sometimes my dad, I remember one time that he was in the black chair and I was by the coffee table and we were doing something and my brother sort of just wandered into the area and my dad just hit him across the face. And my brother just went flying into the rug. And his whole face was bruised.
What was wrong with Erik? Why didn't your dad want to pay attention to him? Did your dad say, would he say things to Erik? What was wrong with him?
No, they would just tell him to shut up and go away. And why can't you just shut up and go away? Basically what I remember he would say. And my brother would just stand there. And my dad would have to push him away or he would hit him. And then my brother would, like that time, just go cry and try to find his mother.
Did your mother ever come back and say anything to your dad about the way he was treating Erik or the way he was treating you?
No.
Overall.
Do you ever remember any time your mother interfering on your behalf with your dad?
I can't remember any time. Or with Erik in situations like that. In conversations where Dad was really grilling him and being harsh with him, making fun of him, sometimes my mom would intervene, but not when my dad was violent.
When your mom was making fun of Erik, how would she intervene?
Objection, mistakes of testimony.
I'm sorry, when your dad was making fun of Erik, how would your mom intervene? Would she say something to your father?
She would just say his name, Jose. Like he was being a little too harsh with Erik, who just sat there with. My brother just couldn't respond. Just sat there sort of stunned, helpless.
Would your dad stop then? When your mom said, "Oh, Jose," would your mom stop or would he continue?
Objection, mistakes of testimony.
Rephrase the question.
When your mom would say something like you've just told me, like, "Oh, Jose," would your dad then stop?
No, he would, no, he would usually stop and be very upset with my mother for saying something when he was talking to his son. And he would say harsh things to her. And sometimes she would cry. She would she would leave. Sometimes she would get very upset too. But usually she would end up leaving.
You said that there were talks in other places. Let me just finish up one more thing with the table. How long did these talks go on? You said you remember them at 7. Did they go on for the rest of the time you lived at home?
The talks
At the dinner
table and also outside the dinner table went on all the way through my life, for as long as he was alive.
Were there also talks that took place in the basement?
Yes.
And did you have a basement both in Muncie and in Pennington?
Yes.
And what is your earliest memory of talks in the basement?
Very early, like 6 years old, when I was swimming.
Okay. Now, was this basement that was set up like some sort of a recreation room, or was it an extra bedroom? We're talking about the basement.
It was a
Muncie.
recreation room where there would be a couch and chairs
And how would you and your dad sit?
and a ping pong table. He would sit in the higher chair, and I would sit on the couch usually.
How close would you sit?
I would sit kind of hunched over, and my knees would be in between his knees, and he would be hunched over too. And our our heads would be touching, and we would talk that way.
And what would he talk about?
Either we went over what I was going to do the next day if I had a match or practice, or there would be something that he was disturbed about, that he needed to. I would repeat phrases, and we'd basically go over the philosophies that were to correct whatever he didn't like that happened. Like,
Give me an example.
Objection, Vegas to tomorrow.
We're talking about when he's 6 years old. Or if you have an example that's later, just tell us how old.
well, when I was playing soccer on the team with Mr. Gross, with this kid Jerry was playing, and the picture was on the wall at one point. And I believe I was 7 or 8. I'm not sure. And at one point, I had a conversation with Jerry and his dad, and they were Jerry's dad pretty much always came to the games too, and he would take Jerry aside after the coach finished talking to everybody, and he would sort of laugh and talk with Jerry, and sometimes I wander over in that direction, and my dad would usually call me back, say, I want to talk to you, and we talked. One time Jerry's father came over and he grabbed me and said he wanted to talk to me about something. He wanted Jerry and I to get together and practice outside the team and do something. So he was talking to me about it, and I talked to him about it, and then the game resumed. And in the basement, my dad brought it up. He said, you were over talking to Jerry and his dad. Well, what did I tell you about having friends? I said, he just wanted to talk to me about practicing after Dad. I think it's a good idea. He said, no. What did I tell you about having friends? And then he'd say, let's go over it. And that's when we put our heads together. And that's when I would repeat to him.
What would you repeat?
Phrases from his books. And I would, that time I repeated a phrase, or I would just sit there and he would say, tell me what I told you about friends. And I would say, I have to constantly struggle because there are forces that tear me down, and sometimes they be disguised in the form of a smile or the hand of a friend.
Was that a quote from something?
It was a quote from the book. And he would repeat it, and I would repeat it, and he would repeat it, and then I would repeat it, and he would say, good.
How many times would you repeat it back and forth like that?
A couple times.
And in these talks, when your heads were together like that, if you said something that was a mistake, what would happen?
He would bump my head.
Hard?
Not too hard, just enough. This was very trance-like. I usually had my eyes closed, and his forehead was on my head, and we would just repeat things in this voice. Sometimes his voice would get harder if he was trying to emphasize, or if he didn't like what I was saying, he would just bump my head like that, and I'd try to go back and do it again. And we would do that for a long time.
What's a long time?
Well, in Muncie, it would be like over an hour, I would say at least, because he would take me through the whole match the next day.
How would he take you through the match? Just give me a short example of how that would start out.
He'd say, what I tell you we were going to work on in tomorrow's match. This is very important. I said, just go through it with me. I'd say, we're going to work on serve volleying. And he would say, okay, what are you going to do? I'd say, I'm going to come into net, and then what? And then I'm going to close off the net, and then what? And then I'm going to anticipate where he's going to hit the ball, and then what? And then on the next point, I'm going to not come into net, right? And then I'm going to take the short ball on the rise instead and come in. He said, okay. And then what? I said, in the next point, I'm going to serve volley. And why are we doing this? Just throw the kid off. I said, okay. So tell me again. I'd say, I'm going to serve volley. I'm going to close the net. And then what? And we go through the whole thing. And he'd say, good.
How many times would you go through it?
On the matches, he would just do it twice, depending on what it was, or sometimes a couple times. Then we would go through my whole strategy, and depending on what strategy I was using. And he would want to know how I'm going to throw my opponent off sometimes.
Let me take you back to going through the match. How long would it take you to go through the match, point by point?
A good part of the conversation, maybe like 40 minutes.
Okay. Were there times that he would also talk to you about philosophy?
Yes.
And did he have a particular book that he liked to teach you about?
Yes.
And what was that book?
That was The Greatest Salesman in the World.
And did he have you memorize substantial portions of the book?
Certain passages I memorized, and
Was this sort
other
of a...
passages were blacked out.
So the things he didn't agree with, he blacked out?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Why did he black out certain parts of the book?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Did he tell you why he blacked out certain portions of the book?
Yes, he told me that they weren't relevant, that this was a great author, and he had written a book that was a special book and for everybody, but that only certain passages pertained to me and my ancestors, and basically just certain passages. So those are the ones I memorized.
Do you remember any of them today?
Not too many of them. I remember most of the titles of the passages. I remember some of the passages.
Was there one in particular that was important to him about sheep?
There were two that were important. One was, I will master my emotions. I will be the master of my emotions. Was very important. And I knew that one.
Can you do
The
it?
first part of it by heart. Yeah, it's my... if I feel depressed, I will be master of my emotions. Today, I will be master of my emotions. If I feel depressed, I will sing. If I feel sad, I will laugh. If I feel ill, I will double my labor. If I feel fear, I will plunge ahead. If I feel inferior, I will wear new garments. If I feel poverty, I will think of wealth to come. If I feel insignificant, I will remember my goals. I will be master of my emotions. And this is the same part of the book that the paragraph about friends is in.
Why was mastering your emotions important?
It was really crucial to Dad, and a great sign of weakness to display emotion, happy or sad, as there's another passage I don't remember as well about being too happy, too confident, too pleased with yourself, and to remember your failures and things of that sort. So neither one. Somebody just unemotional that you couldn't read.
What was the advantage to that? Did he explain to you?
Yeah, that you couldn't be read. in the sports context, that's all that would be, not to give away what you're feeling, especially with regards to me, who seem to have a problem with nerves, fear, inability to. Another line I forgot is, if I feel uncertain, I will raise my voice. And that's a problem I had, speech problems, things of that sort. They were very important for me. If I could master these things, I could reach my goals.
And were there also passages in there that talked about people being better than other people, the people who were going to succeed versus the people who were going to fail? The sheep and...
That was also pertaining to friends. That's the passage that we recited most often because it had to do with my ancestors. And that went that I was not born into this world in defeat, nor does failure course within my veins. And then it would go, I am not a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I am a lion, and I refuse to walk and to talk and to sleep with the sheep. And I will hear not those who weep and complain, for their disease is contagious, and let them join the sheep. And we would say that at the end of most of our talks in Muncie, and then we sort of didn't say it as much later on. But that was the theme, that other kids weren't trained in the way I was. They didn't come from the same bloodline, and they had this disease of mediocrity, and it was contagious, and to stay away from, and that it was very tempting, and I was a weak person, and I seemed to be tempted for some reason to hang out with other kids, and I needed to remind myself, and so we worked on it.
When your dad talked about the superiority, was this from both the Menendez and the Anderson side, that is both your father and your mother's side of the family, or was this just...
When my dad talked about it?
Yes.
No, he totally disregarded my mom's side of the family.
What was wrong with your mom's side of the family?
Wasn't anything wrong with it. It just wasn't what he wanted me to have in my head. He just didn't think that any of them had done anything of any significance. And, my name was Joseph, and that I should pretty much disregard whatever my mother tells me about her side of the family, because it just confuses things. And he wanted to keep things very simple. So I knew basically my dad's history, and only bits and pieces of my mother when she would be telling me about her family.
In these talks that you had, would your dad talk to you about setting goals and meeting those goals?
Yes.
What kinds of things would he say?
He would. My life was structured with little goals, and he would say that we need to set short-term goals, and some of these were like to fix the flaws that I seem to have with walking.
What kind of flaws did you have with regard to walking?
Section Vegas to 10.
Rephrase the question.
You said that he talked about flaws with walking. Did you have a problem with the way you walked at
Yes.
some point in time?
Yes.
When?
I still do, I think.
What was wrong with the way you walked?
Just with feet outward.
And besides talking to you about it as a goal, as a flaw to be corrected, how else did he deal with this flaw of yours?
Made fun of anything like that. He made fun of in our family. The walking, he would walk behind me and make quacking noises and say I walk like a duck, and get Eric to make quacking noises.
Would this be done on a public street
Yes.
with people around?
Yes.
Did that embarrass you?
Yes.
What other flaws did he set as goals to be corrected?
Speech.
What was wrong with your speech?
I didn't enunciate properly. That's what he said countless times. And I also sometimes stuttered because I just couldn't respond because I'd be so tense.
And what would he say when you stuttered? How would he handle that?
Just make fun of it.
What would he say?
He'd just stutter back. And sometimes he would send me in a room and say, come back when I can talk. Sometimes he would just stutter. Sometimes he would just wait. And I would just keep trying, keep trying to get the words out. And he knew what I wanted to say. And he just let me go on.
And how old were you at these times when he was making fun of your stuttering?
I mean, the earliest I can remember, and maybe like pretty much mostly in Muncie and sometimes in Pennington if I got really nervous. I didn't really have a stuttering problem like my brother did more. I just in some talks with my dad, I just was like crumbling. I just couldn't get the words out. Couldn't form the sentences.
Sorry, that's okay. What did you do to try and avoid stuttering? Or to try and avoid him humiliating you? Was there anything you could do about it?
Judgment roll.
Overall.
No, I really didn't talk much around my dad, only if I was asked. And I couldn't avoid it if I was asked.
What other flaws were set as goals to be corrected?
The talking to other kids was a big problem, continual problem. And for sure, the emotion. With me, it was mostly a tendency to cry or look sad.
And what would he tell you about that?
That I have to master my emotions. And he really was it offended. I don't know if it offended him, but he had a strong reaction to tears, except my mother's.
Did you have any other flaws he wanted to correct?
In that period?
Do you have any problem with bedwetting?
Yes.
Until how old?
14.
And what would he do with regard to your wetting the bed?
Judge Vegas tonight.
When you were young, what would he do? When you were in the Muncie house?
Did lots of things. Just made fun of me.
What would he say?
Say you're a sissy like your brother. And he'd just be totally disgusted. Didn't want to talk to me. Sometimes we'd skip practices if my mom had said that I wet my bed, and he didn't want anything to do with me. Sometimes it would just upset him so much, he would explode, and I would get beaten for it.
What about when you were older, when you were 12 or 13 and it was still happening?
I remember him. My mother was mostly the one that would explode about the bedwetting, or punish me about the bedwetting in all kinds of different ways.
How would she punish you?
Sometimes she would rub my face in the sheets. She'd refuse to change the sheets, and I'd sleep on the floor. She'd abused my stuffed animals. I remember one time she just threw them all out the window, and I came home from school and they were all on the grassy area in front of the house, wet from the mildew, and one of the dogs had eaten up one of them. And that's what she did. And sometimes I would just be banished from the house like I was in Muncie. I would just stay outside. And then she would always tell my dad.
Were you ever taken to a doctor?
No.
You checked in Vegas at the time.
The question was ever in relation to anything at all?
No, were you ever taken to the doctor in connection to your bedwetting problem?
No.
How did it make you feel when your parents talked to you about what they thought about you wetting your bed?
I was very embarrassed, and I believed that it was a big flaw. And I was trying desperately to not do it. And I just had problems. And it would just go in periods. And there's like nothing I could do. And then
Would he set other goals for you besides correcting these flaws?
sports goals, for sure. Goals with academics.
What happened when you didn't reach your goals?
Well, I usually reached most of the smaller goals, and then we had goals that were like a next level and a next level. And, I don't remember any serious conversation about not reaching some big goal. I remember lots and lots of him being furious or upset about the steps involved in getting to the goals, and that I was sort of just bound to failure and not going to be like him, and I knew that.
Did you think you were ever going to be as good as he was?
No.
Did you think you were ever going to be good enough to please him?
No, I didn't.
Was it important to you to please him?
Yes.
Why?
My dad loved me, and showed it when I made him happy, when I pleased him, when I won, or did what he wanted, or did it right, or did better than he wanted. So I spent my days doing that. And when I didn't do that, it was obvious that I was going to end up like Erik, just who cares?
Over the time that you were living in the house, I assume you got to see your mother and father interact.
Yes.
What are your earliest memories of their relationship? What do you remember about it?
My earliest memory is him beating her in the bedroom. I was like either 5 or 6. I remember her before, but not them interacting.
Okay. So you remember him beating her in the bedroom? What, did you see it? Did you hear it?
I was walking, they fought all the time, or a lot. It seemed like all the time.
And when they fought, was this them discussing things or yelling at each other?
Certainly they would be yelling and screaming, but my mother was, she didn't take it like her mother. She fought back, and so they would have physical fights, and he would be, and that time that I walked by, the door was slightly open, and he was beating her with a belt, and she was clawing him back, and he had scratches on his body, and there was blood. She was half dressed, and they were just brawling in the bedroom. And I was sitting there watching, and I couldn't move. And I think I wasn't there too long. I just walked to my bedroom because I went into my bed and just cried and had this nightmare of that over and over for years and years. And them fighting like that was not uncommon.
Did you see it, or did you just hear it usually?
I heard it.
You said, you made a comment, she didn't take it like her mom?
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean?
Well, her mom, she said her mom,
Okay, move to strike as hearsay.
Sorry?
Move to strike as hearsay.
Objection to on grounds of hearsay.
And
Objection sustained.
relevancy.
Objection sustained.
Did the fighting go on through all of your life, or did it change as you got older?
it changed significantly.
When did it change?
It gradually changed. They fought less at the end of the Pennington House period. It's in physical ways that I could see. I didn't see her bruised and scratched as much or things like that. And then they certainly changed once they got to California, and I'd say at some point in California they seemed to change completely.
You've talked about the early period of them fighting, and then you said in Pennington they didn't fight as much.
Right.
Did they seem to be a happy couple then during the Pennington years?
Not at all. They were not really. I never saw them as a couple, really, until the end. But my mother was really deteriorating. I was going to use the word deteriorating. It's not a nice word, but she was becoming much harder to be around, prone to rages and embarrassing tirades and dangerous throwing things around and coming at you. And so my dad pretty much left her alone and stayed away. We all kept our distance. And also he was not there as much. He was traveling a lot. He stayed in New York. And I didn't see him as much. You know, he was there on the weekends, and then you just never knew when he was going to come home.
When he was home and around your mother, did he treat her with respect
Here's the Vegas time.
in the Pennington house?
Not at all. It was just very short. He was that way with everybody. Just didn't want to hear what you had to say. Just weren't important to him. Just didn't want to hear what you had to say, other than me if he was in conversation with me. But very disrespectful to my mother.
Was he cruel to her?
Very, very cruel in being disrespectful and just ignoring her. And there were just times when she was just completely sobbing, hysterical, because he had made a promise to go out to like the block party with her that one time I remember. And other times he had promised to come home and wouldn't come home and wouldn't call, and you could tell she was waiting. And then her mood would just, and she would be depressed and just space.
Did you feel sorry for her when you saw her like that?
I did, and especially when she would be sobbing, and or when she was like either sort of spaced out. I felt sorry for her. I felt sorry for her. I always felt sorry for her.
When when your parents moved to California in 1986, did you see a change after that in their relationship?
Not immediately. I didn't. Pretty much at the end of the time at the house in Calabasas that they were renting.
So this would have been 1988, 1987?
This would be 87, I think. Yeah.
What was
87.
different about their relationship?
They would be holding hands at times.
Had you ever seen them hold hands before
Never,
that?
never. And this was not something that I saw as. I was very confused by it because my dad was. He seemed just whatever my mom wanted was fine. You know, he'd hold her hand. He seemed very patronizing to me. Yes, Kitty. Okay, Kitty. Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea. That kind of thing all the time.
Had you ever seen that behavior before?
Never. And nor could I even imagine it happening. And it just was a complete change.
Did you ever talk to him about, or to your mom about why the behavior was so different?
No.
You've talked somewhat about your mom's condition and her deteriorating condition. Were there changes in who she was when you were little as opposed to who she was when you got older?
Very big changes, I think.
When you were little, do you remember her being gentle and affectionate with you?
She was never gentle and affectionate with me.
Did she ever act like she loved you?
Not when I was little. And there was just a one short period of time when I thought that that might be true. But like I said before, I mean, I felt that she hated me. And that's what she told me all the time.
Do you have memories of a child of being left places, your mother just sort of abandoning you at places?
Yes.
What's your earliest memory of that?
It was in the airport with
Oh.
my little brother. I was like, I don't know if I was 5 years old.
Darn, I can barely hear the witness.
Try to speak up, please.
Okay. And I was there with all the luggage with my mom, and I had my brother either on my knee or sitting next to me. And we had all these suitcases around. I was at the airport with my mom, and I think that's the first time I remember being at the airport anyway. And she's just left, and I called after her, and she just left, and I waited by the luggage with my brother, and she was lost in basically the people that were shuffling around, and she just disappeared around the terminal, and she was gone for a long period of time. I don't know, I was panicking. I wasn't sure whether to go try and find her after a while, or I was taking my brother with me, and I just decided that if I left the luggage, my dad would find out, so I just stayed there. And it seemed like an amazing amount of time later, she came back, and my brother was crying, and I didn't want to say anything, so I just didn't say anything.
Why didn't you want to say anything? Why didn't you say, I was scared? Where were you?
I just didn't want to say that.
Why?
Because she was very reactionary, and she could try to hit me or just yell and scream or go off, and I really never volunteered something like that. If I could, unless I felt like I had to help her or something.
Did your mom take you and your brother along with her shopping? You go to shopping malls?
Yeah, I went to shopping malls with her all the time.
What would happen when you'd go to shopping malls with your mom?
She would leave, and my brother and I, sometimes we would just stay in the car. And I remember being in the car while she shopped for hours.
What age?
Till I was about 10 years old, 11 years old.
What would you do if you had to go to the bathroom?
We went in between the cars. And then a lot of times she would bring me in, and then she would get lost.
What do you mean she would bring you into the shopping mall?
Yeah, we would be following her around, and she would be walking quickly, and she would just leave a store and go into another store. And I would try to keep track of her and play with my brother, and we just, sometimes me not paying attention, sometimes her just disappear when I didn't notice. And these were big malls, and I rarely could find her. I would look, and then I would go back to the same store and hope she would come back. And I would never turn myself in to the security people, but the storekeeper would ask suspicious question, where's your mother? Because I was only like, I was under 10 years old, and I would not have an answer, and they would call, they would say, wait here, and they would come pick me up. This happened at lots of different malls. They would come pick me up, and we would either be in the little booth thing in the middle of the mall with all the push carts, and we would just wait there.
When you say we, is this you and your brother?
My brother and I.
Would they page your mom?
They would page, I would say my name, and they would page my mother. And always she would wait until she was done, and then she would pick me up on the way out.
And how long would that be?
Anywhere from an hour to, she would shop for a few hours. And I would know we were going to be there for a long time.
Would the security guards say anything?
Yeah.
Objection, irrelevant.
Overall. One time they took us in the, behind the walls of the mall where the offices are, and there were some chairs against the wall, and they sat us there, and so much time had gone by that these two security guards started making fun of us, that our mother had abandoned us, that she wasn't coming back. What were they going to do with us? We probably had to stay here all night. And I just kept telling them that she was coming back, and know that she was going to come back.
Was it scary?
It was very scary.
Why?
Mostly because these were just strangers, and they were making fun of me, and I just wish that my mother had come back sooner.
How many times do you think that happened?
It happened a lot of times, but I don't really know how many times. But
More than 5?
Much more than 5.
More than 10?
More than 10.
More than 15?
Say at least 15 times. I just knew that it happened whenever we went to the mall until I was about 10 years old, and security wouldn't pick me up if I was 10 years old. And
When your mother was supposed to pick you up from school or from sports activities, did she show up on time?
almost never on time. Always very late. And a lot of times she would be late, and so I would be late for the next practice.
And while you were waiting, I mean, would all the other kids be waiting around also to be picked up from school, or would they be gone already?
All the mothers and fathers would come and, from school?
From school or from sports? Or?
Well, from school, they would be taking the buses, and a lot of times my mom would get into big arguments because she would say that she was there and I wasn't sitting on the bench waiting for her. I wasn't there and I was there and she just hadn't come. And she would say then she checked around the back and she would say she's been spending an hour looking for me, and she would go into a tantrum and yelling at me and how ungrateful I could be to be wasting her time, and she was so busy and she was going to tell my dad.
Would any
But-
people offer to help you out at these times when you're
One
sitting
time that I remember at Sportorama, one of the fathers offered me a ride, and I told him that I knew my mom said she was going to be late, and so that's okay. I'll just wait. And the place was dark. He was worried about me, and he said, I don't think you should stay here. Maybe something happened to her. I'll take you home, or we could stay at my house and call. And I said, no, she's coming. And
How would it make you feel all these times when she was late?
I just felt that she didn't care, that her only concern was what my dad was going to think about it.
All right, let's take our recess, and we'll resume at 1:30, ladies and gentlemen. Don't discuss this case with anyone. Don't form any final opinions about it, and we'll resume at 1:30.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I have a document which we have pre-marked as 235.
All right?
And I've already shown it to the prosecution. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Mr. Menendez, I'd like to show you what we've marked now as Exhibit 235 and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
This is a series of notes that I made for a conversation with my dad at a tennis tournament.
Okay. And can you tell when those notes were made?
This was at the boys 14 Easter Bowl, 14 and under.
What year would that have been? Is there a date on the back of the document?
Yeah, 1984, April.
And are there detailed instructions with regard to how to play the match?
Yes,
And you had told us earlier that from the time you were quite young, you were getting instructions from your dad with regard to exactly how you were supposed to play. Is that correct?
yes.
And for how long did those types of sessions go on in your life? Till what age?
All the way through my life,
So as long as you were playing tennis?
yes.
And are those notes typical of the kind of notes you would write after a session with your dad?
This is before.
This is before a session with your dad? So this would be preparing to meet with your father?
Yes.
And why would you prepare notes before you were going to have a conversation with your dad?
So I wouldn't get anything wrong.
Now, would these be the plans that are laid out there, exactly what you're supposed to do at each point in time, would that be based on something your father had already told you, or would this be you just expressing what your own individual decision was about a strategy?
No, this is based on conversation after conversation of things that my dad had already told me and we had discussed. And it didn't vary much from conversation to conversation. Sometimes the strategies would change, but the format of the conversation was the same every time. Just go through it.
And I assume that the conversations got more complicated as you got older.
They got more complicated, and at times the strategies would change. So,
Can you just read to us now, off of that document, the notes you prepared for the talk with your dad?
Objection irrelevant. And best evidence.
I'm sorry?
Irrelevant and best evidence.
Well, Your Honor, rather than passing the document around, I thought that he might read just like the first 1/3 of it.
All right, why don't you approach and limit what it is so we don't have the whole document read. Just consume some time, less time.
it says serve And then underline first serve must be hit hard all the time. And then flat is in a box. And then second serve underline must be hit hard. Underline with spin. You must come in on your second serve and first serve. And then there's underlined ground strokes. You must step in and hit your ground strokes with driving topspin. You must be patient and willing to stay back all day. On a short ball, off the backhand slice and come in hard. Off the forehand, come in with a driving topspin. Go for a winner, in parentheses, percentage play. Then it says slice and come in. If the ball is very short, hit a winner off backhand. Any ball that's a floater high, volley. If in the air deep and come in, put overheads away, deep or angle shot, and then it goes on.
And it goes on like that, same.
Yes.
Was it unusual for you to make notes to have a conversation with your dad?
No.
Did you always do that?
Not always, but very often.
And were these the type of detailed instructions that he gave you throughout your life with regard to how to play tennis?
Yes, this is exactly what we did.
And he gave you detailed instructions, I think you testified, with regard to other aspects of your life also?
Yes.
And were they as detailed?
Very technical and detailed and specific. My dad would say down to a gnat's eyelash.
When you displeased your mother or your father, you were punished, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you always know the things that were going to get you in trouble?
Objection begs to win.
Sustained.
Let's talk about the Pennington house. When you were living in the Pennington house, what age range does that cover for you?
11 through 18.
So if we look at the early part of the Pennington house, maybe the first 3-4 years, that period, between about 11 and 14 or 15. Did you get punished by your parents?
Yes.
Did you know ahead of time what types of things would get you in trouble?
I knew certain things would get me in trouble. Bedwetting, lack of performance in the sports, tennis at that point. Any deviation from the schedule that was outlined.
Deviation in terms of the way the match was to be played?
The way the match was to be played or the way the day was to go. Similar to the conversation I relayed to you before. And then, my mom would have a series of things I could get in trouble for. My tone of voice, being lazy, watching TV, caught doing a number of things like that.
Would sometimes there be punishment for things that you didn't know what you had done wrong?
Yes.
And you talked before about your mother's tantrums or rages. Did your mother have tantrums or rages?
Yes.
And how far back do you remember seeing that kind of behavior by your mother?
Since I can remember.
And did those rages stop at some point in time?
No.
Did they get worse as time went on? Say
Yes.
And what would she be like when she was in a rage?
She would just be completely out of control, screaming, grabbing things off counters and shelves and breaking them, throwing things around the house. Sometimes come after you, sometimes run away. Just a complete explosion.
What did she look like when she was in these rages?
Just completely tense and
You just
just
made-
ready to, explosion is the only word I can think, just ready to really, like she's trying to hold back and is not able.
You keep making a gripping motion with your fists.
Yeah, she would use her fists against you, and her veins would bulge out, and her face would clench, and her arms would flail, and she would just be out of control, and she'd be running around, and you'd just be either hiding or I just stood there and not move. Sometimes Erik would run out of the room.
Would she
Just-
say things when she was in these rages?
Objection makes to time.
Just
In the Muncie house when she would go into these rages? Do you remember the things she would say?
Yes.
What would she say?
She would say that you're a bastard, you ruined her life, you're ungrateful. How can you use that tone of voice with me when I clean up after you all day? Wait till your dad gets home. I'm going to tell him how lazy you've been today. You're a terrible boy.
Would she use that tone of voice?
No.
Would she speak louder than that?
She speak louder, and my mother cursed a lot.
Was it frightening?
It was terrifying, and it was confusing.
Why was it
Because you just...
confusing?
You just didn't know why. You'd just explode constantly. You'd just be walking around the house like this because my mother could go off like that, and you could be hurt. She could throw things at you. Sometimes she'd grab me when I was little and hold me on the ground in awkward positions. Grab me upstairs and put me underneath her bed. You just never knew what was going to happen, so you were just scared, and you were just tense.
You say she would put you under your bed, under her bed. Would this be a punishment?
I don't know if you use the word punishment. These were just, she did these things on a regular basis when she exploded, and one of them was putting me under the bed.
How long would you be under the bed?
Till before my dad came home.
So would this happen just a few minutes before your dad would come home, or would it
No, I'd
happen?
be under there for all afternoon, early evening.
What was it like underneath the bed?
It was claustrophobic. It was only about this high, and I just had enough room to get under, and
Could you turn over?
you couldn't turn over. No. And the ferret went to the bathroom all under there, so the whole area was never cleaned. So it was like a urine smell. And it was terrible, and that's why she put me there. And
Did this happen more than once?
this happened often.
Did your mom help you with your homework?
Yes.
She helped your brother with his homework?
Mostly my brother.
What would it be like when she was helping Erik with his homework? And are we talking about Muncie now, your memories, or Pennington?
Pennington.
Okay. Well, tell me what it was like when your mom was helping Erik with his homework.
She was in a rage again.
How would
just-
they be doing it? I mean, would she be writing his homework for him, or helping him, or explaining things to him patiently? What would she be doing?
He'd be writing, and she would just be watching like this. And as soon as he made a mistake, she'd take the paper and she'd go, "God, do it again! Do it again!" And then my brother would just be like this, and he would go over and write again. She would wait like about 10 seconds, and she'd grab the thing again, and she'd just crumple it up, and she'd slam it down again, and then she'd just start hitting. And just on the back of the head and his back, and he was supposed to keep writing. And I remember one time my dad walked in, and I don't think he had any idea sometimes that these things were going on in the house, because he was in shock. And he just was in shock. And my brother looked at him and he was crying, and I told him later that you got to do something for my mom. Because she was out of control.
What'd your dad say?
He said to just avoid her, and that she was not a rational person. Just avoid her. And that's what I did.
Did she ever time Erik when he was doing his homework?
Objection vague as to time.
Well, the question was ever.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Where do you remember seeing her time Erik?
He worked usually on the table in the living room.
Which house are we in?
In Pennington. And she walked around with a stopwatch, like the swimming stopwatches that we used to use and no longer did. And I wasn't sure exactly what they were doing, but she would time, and she would say, "Time's up." And then she would check all the answers and see how many he got right. And they would just go back and forth like this.
And what would happen if he got some wrong?
I don't remember. I tried not to be in the room when these things happened.
This happened once or more than once?
This happened every day that he had school.
She helped Erik with his homework more than she helped you with your homework, I take it.
My dad didn't want her wasting time helping me with my homework. He just told her to do it. And then I go play tennis and practice and train or do my running or whatever.
So did she do your homework?
Yes.
How did you feel about what was happening to your brother when you would watch her working with him?
I felt helpless and like I wanted my dad to do something. And sorry for him.
Did your mom seem strange to you?
Objection vague.
Overruled.
She was very strange.
And were there times when she would engage in what looked like meaningless activity?
Objection irrelevant.
Overruled.
There were times when she was, it seemed like she was just off in another world. She would not respond to you. She would just be like sprawled out on the floor, rearranging marbles, rubber bands, putting cards together, taking them out, making them into different stacks, and then put them all back in the drawer. There was a little drawer off the kitchen that she had all these things in. Sometimes she would be playing with dirt in the... It was like she was repotting the plants again and again, but she was just gone. She wasn't there.
Was this in the Muncie house or the Pennington house?
This happened throughout in Muncie. It got very, very bad in Pennington. There were a lot of other... it wasn't just that type of stage. It would be in different kinds also, but it would get worse. And then in Calabasas, it seemed to me to be even worse. And I wasn't there as much, and my brother was calling me, telling me what was going on. And then it seemed to be less open. And sort of, I don't know, I didn't see it as much.
Let me go back to some of her earlier behavior. You referred to Calabasas, which is one of the later houses. You had a pet ferret. You had a series of them, is that correct?
Yes.
And would something happen with regard to hunting for the ferret?
Looking for the ferret, my mom would just, the ferret ran loose in the house and had no cage. And my mom would just get these panic attacks that the ferret was missing. And then she'd just come into wherever you are and say, the ferret is missing, the ferret is missing. And she'd make you go outside and look all through the woods and the surrounding area and don't come back without the ferret. Including my dad, she would tell this to. And
Would your dad go look for the
he
ferret?
would go look because she was serious. And sometimes I got woken up in the middle, after I was already asleep, and the lights would come on because the ferret was missing, and we would go out and look. And sometimes we would find him. And other times, most of the times, he was just in the house somewhere, and she'd find him inside the couch, like in the stuffing underneath or somewhere else.
Would your
We
mom?
would search for hours and all evening.
Would your mom go with you on the searches?
No, she would stay in the house in case the ferret showed up.
Was she very attached to the ferret?
I think she was very attached to the ferret.
And did one of the ferrets die and have something unusual happen to it?
Yes,
What happened?
the ferret died, and she had it stuffed, and then she had it stuffed on a little log, and then put it on the TV set so that she could always see it.
Did your mother ever do anything violent to you in these rages?
Yes.
Can you tell me?
Lots of violent things.
What are the earlier violent things you remember? Do you remember any violent things from the Muncie house?
Just beating me with her hands and kicking me on the ground, and dragging me by the hair down to my room, which my dad did sometimes that way also. And she would just throw me in the room, and she was much bigger than me. She just would kick me on the ground when she was having these rages. I would just defend myself until she left. And then in Pennington, she'd throw things at you. One time, she chased me around the house with one of the kitchen knives and didn't actually get me. But
What would
chased me
happen
around.
when you were thrown in your room? Would you be in your room for a long period of time?
Thrown in my room in Muncie
Yes.
I would be in my room for all day, and then, which was part of the problem because I was supposed to have a schedule, and if my mom punished me and put me in the room, then I couldn't keep the schedule. So my dad would come home and be furious.
What would you do about food when you were in the room? Would she bring you food?
I don't remember, she may have.
What did you do when you had to go to the bathroom?
I went to the bathroom in the room, either out the window, and she gave me like a Tupperware. It was more like one of those hospital vomiting things. I kept it under the bed, and that's what I used if I need to go to the bathroom.
Was there an incident in which you had a rabbit that you brought home from school?
Yes,
How old were you?
it was the end of second grade. I don't know, maybe 7.
End of second grade? And did you bring the rabbit home?
Yeah, they gave away all the animals at the end of the year, and I managed to be able to get the rabbit. So they gave it to me in a box, and I brought it home. and I put it with. I tried to keep a lot of the animals I caught in the house for short periods of time, like I had a turtle, and so on. And so I put the rabbit in the empty aquarium that didn't have anything in, and I showed it to my mom.
What'd your mom say?
She liked it.
Did she subsequently tell you to get rid of the rabbit?
Yes.
And did you?
Actually, it was my mom said that my dad wanted me to get rid of the rabbit.
So were you supposed to find it a new home or something? Or just get
He
rid of
didn't
it?
care. She just said, Dad just wants you to get rid of it, so give it away. Or I couldn't take it back because school was out, so just give it away or let it go.
And did you do that? Did you give it away or let it go?
No.
And sometime later, did something happen to the rabbit?
Yes.
How much later after you were told to get rid of the
A
rabbit?
couple of days, I was basically hoping that they would change their mind with the rabbit, and then I noticed it was missing, and so I got very nervous, and I went to my mom and asked her where the rabbit is, and she said, well, you were supposed to get rid of it, so you have to talk to your dad. And I went into my dad, and he wouldn't answer me, and so I started to get very upset and basically say, Dad, tell me where the rabbit is. And I thought he let it go, and he told me that I was supposed to get rid of it and that it was in the garbage.
Did you go check the garbage?
Yes.
What did you find?
He had beaten it to death, and it was just laying on top of the garbage, and there were flies. So I took it off, and we found one of those shoe boxes for it, and put it in the shoe box. And I got my brother, and we went out back to where we played with the army men, and I brought all my stuffed animals with me, and we buried it.
Was there a time where you upset your mother as she was preparing dinner and she cut herself?
Yes.
How old were you?
11.
What happened after she cut herself?
It was by the glass door, and I think I said her name, and she was doing something in the kitchen, and she cut her hand, and she ran over, and she pushed me against the glass, and she rubbed her hand in my face, and said, see what you did to me?
Did she get blood on you?
Oh yeah, her hand was a mess, and my face was a mess, and I ate dinner that way.
Why did you eat dinner that way? Why didn't you wash it off?
I went to wash it off. She said, no, just leave it, just eat. And I thought I was going to have to go to school like that, but by the end of the evening, she let me wash it off.
Was your dad home?
No, these things wouldn't happen if my dad was home.
Did you get sent to summer camp for sports when you were little?
A couple times.
Did you like going?
I hated going to summer camp.
Why?
I miss my brother. I just was not used to being away from home. I was not used to other people. And suddenly I was with all these other boys and adults, and I didn't want to be there.
How old were you when you were sent to summer camp?
I went once when I was, I think, 8 or 9, about 8 or 9, to a soccer camp, and then I went to a tennis camp, the Ron Holmberg camp, for just a couple days.
When you went to soccer camp, were you homesick?
Very homesick, and so were all the other kids.
Did you call home?
We called home on the, this was a soccer camp where every minute was allotted for, and we had specific, like, half hour where we could call home, and I always called home.
And what would you say to your parents when you called home?
I would cry and tell him I don't want to be there, and tell Dad to come get me. I always talked to my mom, and she would tell me that I was there and I was staying, and it got to be like the end of the week, and then Mom told me I was staying another week, and I guess they paid week by week, and so I really told her that I didn't want to be there and I wanted to come home. And police put Dad on the phone, and I'll tell him why and so on. She told me to stop crying. Dad doesn't want to come to the phone, and so I had one argument with her about it, hysterical, and then the next day I called,
What happened?
and
Did you pay for the calls, or did you have to call collect?
I didn't have any money. I called collect.
What happened when you called?
She didn't accept the call.
Could you hear her voice?
Yes,
Could you hear her refuse to accept your call?
yes.
And did you try and call her again?
Yeah, I called every day.
She ever accept the call?
Never.
How'd that make you feel?
I was just I'm embarrassed, and I went every day, even though I knew that it was going to happen. And I just kind of hung by the phone like I was talking on the phone too. I wouldn't say anything, and all the other boys, because they would talk about if he had called home and things like, they would just be saying that they talked to their dad or this was happening. I didn't want to tell them that my mom didn't want to talk to me.
Was this time difficult for you?
Correction day.
This time in Muncie, when you were living in Muncie, was life difficult for you at home?
That was the worst period of my life.
And when you moved to Muncie, did things continue to be difficult?
With regard to my mom, they became much more difficult.
You've referred before to your stuffed animals. I have some pictures up there. Your Honor, which are pre-marked because of the numbers right?
Yes.
Number 237. Do you recognize that picture?
Yes.
And what is that?
That's my brother and I on Easter with some more stuffed animals that I got.
And 238?
This is in Pennington, and these are more. These are new, and this Cookie Monster is from.
Can't hear you.
And these are new, and these Cookie Monster is from Muncie.
So you,
That's looks like me in the background.
so you brought Cookie Monster in to have his picture taken with the new animals?
Yes.
Did you play with stuffed animals when you were little?
All the time.
What's your earliest memory of playing with stuffed animals?
I started getting collecting the stuffed animals around when I started in Muncie. I can't remember before that. That's when I got Cookie Monster, and I believe that's when I got the Sesame Street group. I'm not positive. I started amassing stuffed animals, and that's when I got Cookie Monster.
And how long did you continue collecting the animals and playing with them?
Till about 17, I guess.
And would you just collect them and have them around your room, or would you actually play with them?
Oh no, they all had personalities and names, and I acted out things with the stuffed animals, and they had different storylines and mostly battles and things of that sort, like my dad was telling me. And they would have the same personality throughout, and they were.
What kind of personalities? You've mentioned Cookie Monster. What kind of personality
There
did
would
he
be
have?
weak ones that were like these two rabbits were weak, and there were some others that were. They were just more helpless. And then there were, once Cookie Monster was the worst, and then there were a group of more meaner, violent stuffed animals. The Kermit the Frogs were pretty nasty, and Oscar obviously was, and there was a whole series of them. Then there were ones that were like judges, and they would decide matters, and they had the most, they were the fairest and the smartest, and they would be in a position to judge. And they would basically stay out of it until there was a big dispute, and if Cookie Monster was beating up one of the little stuffed animals, then they would step in, and there would be kind of like a little trial. And and they slept with me on the bed, and it was it was important.
How much time would you say you spent playing with him?
I spent any spare time I had, but I would stay up late after my parents put me to bed and play with him in the dark. I played with him. In months I had more free time than later, times when there was just nothing scheduled and I had an hour and a half here or an hour there or half hour. So I would go play with him. Or if I was sent to my room and I had plenty of time, I would play.
Now, were most of these animals nice animals, and was this imaginary playtime pleasant time, or what was it like?
Objection, irrelevant.
How much longer on this subject?
Just a few more questions.
All right, overall.
It was very important, very special.
And did the rest of your family members know how important the animals were to you?
Yes.
Overall.
And would sometimes, when other family members were unhappy with you, would they take it out on the animals?
Yes. Yes.
And can you give me an example?
I found the Cookie Monster. Well, my mother threw a tantrum and basically broke him because the eyes were attached and the one broke off in a tantrum in my room. And sometimes I would find some in the shower soaked, which is usually my dad. And like the time my mother just threw them out the window when I met my bed. And there were a lot of instances where I was vulnerable there.
And did one of the animals get destroyed by the dog?
Yeah, Fozzie Bear got destroyed. I found him all over the back of the house in the yard.
Did you save any part of it?
The hat. I have the hat still.
And did you get thrown out of class one day because you brought your animals to class and you were raising the animal's hand rather than yours?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 10th grade, so 16.
And you had a girlfriend named Stacy Feldman, is that correct?
Yes.
And Stacy was your girlfriend from about 15 to 18?
Yes.
Then I have an exhibit which I marked as 239. We had subparts. I marked the envelope as 239A. Card is 239B. have enlargements of the card. The face sheet, I'd like to make 239C. And the interior part, 239D.
All right.
Do you recognize the envelope that was marked as 239A?
Yes,
Whose handwriting's on the envelope?
that's mine.
And what's the name?
Stephanie.
And is that Stacy?
Yes.
And if you would look at what we've marked as 239B, do you recognize that?
Yes. This was a card that went with some roses that I sent her.
And what does the face sheet say? The top part of it.
I love you. I will always love you, Lyle.
And what's it say inside?
It says, P.S. This gift is sent to you from Pookie, Webster, Cookie, Froggy 1 and 2, Theodore, Pinky, Dino, all the Teddies, Lammy, Medium and Little Cookie, Woodstock, Odie, Garfield, King Kong, Snoopy, all the little dogs, including Snoopy the Great Magician, Panda, Rabby, all the other rabbits, Zuki, the Man, Oscar, Old and New, Scooby-Doo, Bugs Bunny, Koala, Sammy the Snake, all the lambs, Paddington Bear, Pinata, Philly Fanatic, Darth Vader, Robot, the other pinatas, both lions, Shogun Warrior, my fish, Indiana, which is the name of my turtle, Chipper, which was the ferret, Velvet, which was the dog, Eagle, and not to mention me.
How old were you when you sent that card?
16 years old.
And the names that you've read off, are those primarily stuffed animals?
Yeah, those are all, well, except for the last few, which are pets, stuffed animals.
You've said that as far back as you can remember, your mom acted like she didn't love you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you want her to love you?
Yes, very much.
And did you try to do things to please her?
I tried to be, I tried to do some things to please her, but mostly that meant just staying quiet and just doing what your dad says and hope she's in a good mood.
Did she show you any affection?
No,
Did she act like she approved of you?
she didn't.
Would she sometimes show you pictures of herself when she was younger?
Yes.
Three exhibits which are marked as 240, 241, and 242. Showing you what we've marked as 240. Remember her showing you that picture?
Yes.
And what's it appear to be?
A bathing suit photo in her house.
And 241?
Yes.
And what does that appear to be?
Looks like either a bathing suit or lingerie picture in her house.
And 242. Have you seen this photograph?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is her Miss Oak Lawn.
Was she very proud of that?
Yes.
Did your mother's looks, how she appeared to other people, seem to be important to her?
She didn't take very good care of herself, but it seemed to be important to her.
Would she ask you how she looked?
Yes.
And sometimes when she asked you how she looked, would she be inappropriately attired?
She would be topless. Usually just topless or like an open robe. And sometimes, with her clothes on.
And what ages are you talking about where she would expose herself to you this way?
Objection, the question is leading and mischaracterizing the testimony.
Overall.
I was about 11.
She help you with your baths?
Yes.
How would she help you with your baths?
She would come in after I'd been in there a while. She would help wash my hair and wash me with a sponge.
How old are you talking about?
Same, 11 to like 11 to 13.
And when you say she would wash you with the sponge, would she just wash your back, or?
No, she would wash me everywhere.
She would wash your genitals?
Yes.
You slept in bed with your mom a lot, didn't you, even when you were little?
Yes.
And did you continue to sleep in her bed around this time when you're 11 and 12?
Sometimes.
And sometimes, did you touch your mom?
Yes.
Would your dad be in bed?
Sometimes.
And where would you touch her?
Everywhere.
Did she touch your back?
She kissed me, but she didn't touch me.
And how long did these things go on for?
Until I was 13, a little bit farther than that.
And when this was going on with your mom, was she nicer to you than she used to be?
No. She was worse.
And did it stop at some point?
It stopped a few months after I was 13.
Who stopped it?
I did.
How did she react to that?
She was furious and, she couldn't be too much worse, but she harassed me and we just sort of had arguments about and problems about that for a long time, a couple of years.
Was your
Really
relation-
for my whole life, because it came out in other ways too.
Your relationship with your mother was never good before that, is that correct?
No.
Was it worse after that?
Oh yes, she was just, she was pretty much zeroed in on me after that. Very, I don't know, she felt rejected. I don't know what she felt exactly, but it was a constant attacking.
Were you angry? Were you angry with her also?
Was I angry? I was very angry. I thought that it was unfair.
Why was it unfair?
Because we were doing this and she was enjoying it, and I was hoping that things were going to get better for our whole relationship, and things might get better, and she got worse.
Did you think she was going to love you if you did these things?
I took it to be love, and that's what I wanted.
Did you always have problems with her after that about your girlfriends?
I always had problems with her, with my girlfriends, yes.
And after all of this stopped with your mother, did she show you specifically that she was unhappy that it had stopped, or she was angry about it?
She harassed me.
What do you mean she harassed you?
She just kept exposing herself, picking me up at the clubs with, in a robe, exposed, leaving her underwear around, calling me into the room when she knew that she was, changing, asking me if she looked pretty, and called me a liar when I said yes. Sometimes she would be in a tantrum, and then she'd come over and she would touch my face real gentle, like she was going to kiss me, and then she would go back into a rage. And she was very upset. And I think maybe Diane being in the house later upset her more.
Did she ask you questions about your girlfriends? Did she seem to want to know a lot of personal details about your relationships with your girlfriends?
Well, yes. No, she didn't want to know personal details, but she didn't want anybody from a broken home. And it was just a suspicion. Everybody was a gold digger. Everybody was having affairs or a bimbo. Nobody was. She didn't really say what she wanted for me. My dad had an idea of what he wanted. She was just. I only had a couple girlfriends and 2 girlfriends that I had relationships with, but both of them well, 3 because of Christy, so 3. And she was, very. This really was more than critical. It was just like humiliating who my girlfriends were as people, and.
Well, you mentioned Christy. Christy was a very pretty model. Is that right?
She was pretty.
And was she nice?
Yeah, she was like an angel.
And did your mom like her?
My mom just despised her.
And did your mom call her names?
Objection made, time.
Sustained.
This is 1989, the spring.
Is that a question?
This is spring 1989 is the time.
It was.
Yes. And what names did she call her?
She called her the same names that my dad did. My dad didn't like Christy either, and called her a slut and a bimbo and a gold digger and just a country girl she had come in from out of state. She was from the Midwest, and she came here to be a model. And
Did your mom do something about the plates that you ate off of?
well, she thought she was AIDS infected, and
What was that based on?
that she was a model, and so she wouldn't let me eat at the table. So I ate on paper plates in the den, and she wouldn't. I remember I let Christy go in the kitchen one time when my mom wasn't there, and my brother actually allowed her in the kitchen. I was playing tennis, and my mom found out, and they were furious over the phone. And then she came home, and she boiled all the silverware, everything in the kitchen. Told me she'd never be allowed in her house again. And the relationship ended shortly after that.
Was it important in your family to be fearless and strong and not show pain?
It was one of the main important things that you had to master.
And would your father sometimes demonstrate his ability to withstand pain, or have exercises in which you would test your ability to withstand pain?
Yes.
And when did these things happen?
They happened starting in Muncie when I was 6, and mostly were just in Muncie. Although we did have a number of particular incidents in Pennington here and there, but it was like a constant thing in Muncie.
How would he do this?
He would, on himself, he would...
First on himself.
He would just show that he could withstand pain. He would allow you to pinch him as hard as you could until you basically made big welts on him. He would never change his facial expression. He would use needles and put them through the calluses on his hands, and they would come through and there would be just a slight blood. He wouldn't flinch. He would hold his hands over candles longer than I could, and he wouldn't say anything. And this was just for fun.
And would he do things like that to you?
I did the same thing as he did, and tried to do them for as long and so on. And I did the needles all the time, and the candles, and also a way he had a pressure point way behind your ear. You would hold both, and he would put more pressure until you would try as long as you can before you reached up and had to grab his hands. Had all kinds of little ways you could just enhance your... That was really ability to withstand pain more than fearlessness.
Why was it important to be able to withstand pain?
I don't know. It just was.
Did you see your dad be aggressive with other people? Physically aggressive?
Yeah, I saw him be physically aggressive.
When?
I saw him be physically aggressive throughout his life. It's not in a... Well, I saw him knock the one guy out on the way to a tennis club.
How did he knock the one guy out on the way to the tennis club? When was this?
We were driving to the East Brunswick Racket Club for a lesson with Brad, and a guy had cut us off, and sorry. My dad had cut the guy off, and the guy was pissed and started yelling at my dad, like through the window, and then tried to cut my dad off. And my dad was basically ignoring the guy, and then the guy gave my dad the finger, and my dad just pulled over the side of the road, and the guy pulled his car over in the front, and Dad got out and walked to where the guy is, and the guy had just gotten out, and my dad just hit him once right in the face, and the guy was out, and that was it. And he walked back to the car and got in, and we left, and I was crying, and I was just nervous because I don't know why. I'd never seen my dad hit someone other than my family, and that was the only time I ever hit somebody. But he was physically aggressive with people he met, and as we went through our lives, like at tennis clubs, if he couldn't get court time, and the girl behind the counter would say, I'm sorry, there's no court time this afternoon, and he would touch people. He would put his hand on their shoulder, and he'd go, "You don't understand. It's very important we get court time tonight. My son has a match." And you could see these people were just unused to that behavior. And they would fight, they would squeeze in, or they would ask other members if we could share half the court, and go to great extremes. And I've seen my dad do that with tournament officials that didn't want to give me enough time to eat before my match, racket stringers that didn't want to string the rackets overnight so I could have it for the morning. He used his intimidation his way.
Was there a time in which he got a ticket and then drove in an unusual manner afterward?
Yes, we were on the way to a soccer match, and we were sort of late, and somehow he got a ticket, he got pulled over, and he told the officer taking my son to the soccer match, he needs to get there in time so he can be ready mentally and stretch. And so I was trying to explain to the guy, give me the ticket, just follow me, and then give me the ticket when we're there. And the tournament was far away, and the cop obviously wasn't going to follow him and go. And said no, and he was writing him out the ticket. And my dad was pissed, and when he got the ticket, and then he drove off, and he went to like 5 miles an hour the whole way, and with the officer behind him for most of the road until we got off onto the freeway, and then or the whatever it was, a turnpike, and then I was like unbelievably late for the game at that point. But I remember sitting beside him as we were driving, and I was looking over at the thing, and we're going like 4 or 5 miles an hour, and the police officer was behind us. And I thought for sure Dad was going to jail or something.
Anything happened to him?
No.
Did you think your dad was brave?
Well, he was fearless.
Was he afraid of anything?
Not to my knowledge.
Was there a time when you were home and your brother was with you and you thought you heard a burglar?
Yes, with Diane.
What happened?
We were home with Diane and alone. Well, my mother wasn't there.
How old were you?
This was in her last visit.
82, 83, something like that?
Yes.
So you heard a noise.
I heard a noise. And,
What'd you do?
excuse me. We just heard strange noises. I didn't hear them, actually. Diane heard them and got scared. And she came over and told me, there's these strange noises outside the front door. We went over, and we'd hear like a knocking, a little soft knock, and then we wouldn't hear anything. And then we'd hear we'd say, who is it, in a stern way to try to get the guy to answer. And he wouldn't answer. And I was looking at the door, and I didn't know if it was locked properly or not. And my brother was shaking, and Diane was petrified, and we didn't know who the person was, and I didn't know where my parents were to call. So I went upstairs and got a rifle. My mom had some rifles. And I came downstairs, and I stood we had the stairwell and the front door, and Diane and Erik were hiding over here. And I stood and I aimed at the door in case somebody was trying to come in
Did
to
you
do
think
something.
this was fun?
Oh, we were terrified.
Were you scared?
I was scared.
Okay.
And I didn't even say anything because I didn't want to goad the guy to walking in, because I was just hoping it would go away. And
How long did this go on?
then 10 minutes, something like that. And then the door opened, and my dad was laughing hysterically, and he walked in, and he saw me there with the rifle, and I didn't shoot him, and he just laughed. And Diane was talking about it on and off for the rest of her visit.
Did you think that showed he was really brave?
Judgment calls for speculation and relevance.
Overruled.
I saw my dad as just completely oblivious to fear. I mean, he believed in reincarnation. I don't think he cared about. I mean, I don't. He may have cared about. He wanted to be alive, but I mean, I don't think he was frightened by anything that I saw in his life. and his son standing there with a gun was just, I don't think he was concerned.
You said he believed in reincarnation. Did he talk to you about that?
Yes.
Were your parents religious?
No.
You went to church at Easter. I think your Aunt Terry testified.
Yeah, I was raised, we were sort of following the Catholic religion, and at some point I became more religious than the group, and this became a source of conflict because my dad didn't like that. It was kind of out of the norm for anyone to be praying too much and wanting to say prayers at a table and things like that. But they weren't religious. But we did go to the church on major holidays. But my dad would skip out before the Mass, and we'd have breakfast at the Pancake House instead of going to the service. And then we'd come back real quick when the family was there. We'd always get there so late that the family would be in the pews, and everybody would be standing in the back. And so my dad would just say, oh, we were standing in the back. That's how he treated services.
When you were young, did you play with your dad at all? You talked about the tennis and stuff like that. Did you play like with your soldiers or your animals, or play cards with him, or?
Yeah, we played with the soldiers. We didn't play with the animals or the cards, and
Okay.
he thought the animals were for. These people that play with animals grow up to be faggots. That's what my dad said. So I stopped playing with the animals at some age, but he didn't want to interfere because I was so attached to the animals, and he just kind of let it go a little.
When you played soldiers with him, how would that be? Was that a nice time with you, with him?
No, I only played soldiers one-on-one in a battle once. Although he would help me set up formations in the way that we did the history lessons, we would buy the soldiers that pertained to the thing. Like we would have the Nazis, and they would have their legs going up, and we'd have the entire German army, and we'd have the entire Japanese army, and we'd have Roman soldiers from the back in those times battling, and Hannibal soldiers and things like that. So he would help me set up the formations, but we actually had a battle because he said that he played with these kind of soldiers and this kind of stuff in his childhood a lot. So we had one battle.
What happened?
And we had like a rug that was made with little brown pieces of yarn, kind of like a bearskin, but not quite. And you could hide the soldiers underneath, and so I spent like an hour hiding the soldiers and making formations. And then he set up his men in like 20 minutes, not even, just set them up real quick. Then he left and came back, told me to tell him when I was ready. And I said, okay, I'm ready. And we were supposed to do it like we had done it when we set up the soldiers, where you just, each bullet shoots somebody, but he, I guess, played differently and just took his soldiers, and he would just run them all over mine and start throwing them off. And then before I could react to what was happening, he would run it and take some more men off, and then he would move his soldiers over his head like this. And he won in like less than a minute. And I started crying and saying, this is not how it's supposed to be done, and I don't know what. And my dad just said, you don't know how to play. And
How old were you?
I was, this was pretty early. I was like 11, 12, somewhere in there.
Did your dad like to play jokes on people?
Yeah.
And were those jokes sometimes cruel?
Yes.
And did you have a shower in Princeton Junction, the house between Muncie and Pennington, that had something wrong with it?
Yes, there was a wrench used to turn on the water.
Did you shower with your dad in the Princeton Junction house?
I did.
Did you shower with your dad in the Pennington house?
Yes, sometimes.
Did you shower with your dad in the Beverly Hills house?
Sometimes.
When you showered with your dad in the Princeton Junction house, what was the joke that he would play?
I would be in there and sometimes my brother would be in there too, the three of us. And he would turn the water all the way to cold sometimes, and then he would just step out and hold us in. And then the water would go from being warm to just freezing water. And we would be screaming and trying to get out. And he would do this, and he would be laughing and keep us in there until my brother got so hysterical that he was like, all right,
Would he take the wrench with him when he...
Yeah, he took the wrench with him. That's why we couldn't change it.
And would you get upset about it?
What?
Would you get upset when that happened?
Yeah, I would. The cold water was like a shock, and I would be. Sometimes when those things happen, I didn't. I reacted very differently. My brother just really focused on that. Always very attentive to my dad's reactions. Look for a weakness or something, like if he seemed like he was wavering, I'd say, "Come on, Dad, let us out," and I'd get out that way.
And how would your brother react?
My brother would just fall apart,
he
start
cry?
crying and hitting the door and making a big scene, and that's what my dad wanted. He enjoyed it. That would make him laugh. And then my brother would get to a point where he was screaming too loud, and Dad just, my brother, it's no fun.
How many times that happened?
That happened, that I remember, only in the Princeton Junction house.
How long did you live there?
I lived there for 1 year, and that may be because that was the one that had the glass door. The other ones were curtains. I was 9.
Now, was this a regular stall shower or a bathtub that has a shower head?
No, it's a stall shower with a glass door that you can just slip out and push close.
Would your brother be reluctant to get in the shower after these things happened, or would you be?
Yeah, Erik would not want to get in, and my dad would say, "Oh, come on, I'm not going to do that to you," and coax him along, and we would shower, and then he would just do it. And he did that a lot, and that was, you could call it a joke, but these were more like lessons of trust, that I had lots of experiences with him regarding trust.
What do you mean, lessons regarding trust? What was the lesson you were to learn about trust?
That you could not trust anyone. You shouldn't trust anyone. And that included your father. And if you did, then it's your fault, whatever happens. And that meant even if he had made promises. And I remember times when he'd be pushing me on the swing, and I'd say, "Dad, I don't want to go. It's scary if you go too hard." And he would say, "Oh no, I'm just going to push you if you don't," because I could have just swung myself, and I asked him to push me, and so he was pushing me, and he just started pushing me, so where the swing would get slack, and then would come down on itself, and I caught my arm in the chain and scraped up my arm, bruised my arm, and I was crying, and I said, "Why?" And I was crying, and he just said, "I've told you, just don't trust people like that. Not even me." And there were other times too. There were other times when he would torment Erik with having him jump off things into his arms. And he'd say, "Come on, Erik. No, I'm going to catch you. Come on." And Erik would jump, and he would catch him. He'd put him back on all the high counters we had in the kitchen. He'd catch him, put him back on, and then one of the times he wouldn't catch him, and my brother would just fall face first, slam on the ground, and immediately explode into tears, cry, and my dad would just pretty much look at me, at least this is the times I remember, he'd look at me and says, "You see, you just don't trust anybody." And I don't know if it's preparing me for life, and that's the sense I got, just preparing me for life.
You talked about your dad grabbing you out of the chair at dinner if you said the wrong thing? What other forms of punishment did you get at the hand of your dad
Objection, Vegas Attorney.
in the Muncie house?
I got thrown outside. I got punched in the stomach very often. And I got beaten with the belt.
And your brother, would you see him get physically punished in front of you?
Hmm.
What kind of physical punishment did you see of him?
My brother was not really worthy of a punch, according to my dad. My dad would slap the hell out of him a lot. Like I told you earlier, he would just slap him. His punishment, unless he was just furious, he would take him to our bedroom. We shared a bedroom, and he would beat him with the belt, pretty much in the same way he beat me.
Did you ever see an incident on the tennis court when you were both older and living in Pennington involving Erik?
Yes.
And what happened there?
That was another way my dad sort of lost control, is throwing you against things. And that time on the tennis court, my brother was having a problem with some stroke. I really wasn't paying attention too much, and next thing I knew, my brother was saying no. My dad had him by the shirt and dragged him along just carried him along the court and just threw him up against the screen. And up in the mesh part, and I was these things were terrifying because you wanted to do something, but if you got involved, it would just make it worse. So I just kind of hovered along, and my brother was hysterical, and he dragged him along the grass into the basement, and kept telling me to go away, and I kept hovering around because I wanted to make sure he didn't do anything that would really hurt my brother. And he didn't end up beating him up or anything. He just threw him against the couch and started screaming at him right in his face that he would never talk back to him again.
How old was your brother at that time?
He was, I think 13, somewhere around there.
Do you have a scar by your left eye?
Yeah, from the coffee table.
And your attention.
The picture that's up on the board?
.236, Your Honor.
Excuse me.
Do you recognize this picture?
I recognize who's in it.
Who's in it?
That's myself and Tristesse.
And does something appear to be wrong with your left eye?
Yeah, that's the injury to my left eye. That's the injury to my left eye when I got thrown into the coffee table.
What happened that you got thrown into the coffee table?
I was roughhousing with my dad in the Muncie house, and I grabbed his genitals at one point, which he did to me a lot, but he just snapped. As soon as I did that, he yanked me up, and he said something, but I don't remember, and threw me basically it was only a couple feet, but across the room into a coffee table. And I split my eye open and was just screaming, and he took me by the arm, and he gave me to my mother, and we went to the hospital.
She comfort you?
No, she was very upset. She was upset that I was roughhousing with my dad, and that's what I get for roughhousing with my dad, and I should know better, and and I I did get the sense that maybe, I always felt maybe she was sorry and she just wished it didn't happen or something, and so was attacking me in a response to not being able to say that. But she was very harsh.
Do you have another scar on your face below your lower lip?
Yes.
How old were you when you got that?
I was about 17, I think.
And how did that happen?
I was in the I was at a club with a coach of mine, and we were playing, and my coach got called off the.
Okay, go ahead.
Coach got called off the court for a phone call, and then he came back and said, "It's your dad. Father wants us to play outside," and it was raining. I said, "Well, it's raining," and he said, "Well, it's not raining. It basically almost stopped raining, and he wants us to go out," and he was very firm we should go out and dry the courts off, because what am I doing practicing indoors when I've got a tournament outdoors that weekend? Go out, dry the courts, play out there. So a lot of times this coach would just, he won't know, we'll just stay indoors, but decided to go and do that. And we went out to the courts, in the public courts, and we brought a bunch of towels and we dried the courts, and we started playing. And then, we wouldn't play more than 5 minutes, and my dad pulled up in the limo, came around the side of the bushes, came to a stop. We were like, man, he must have called from the car. We thought he was at his office in New York, and he couldn't get there. So he pulled up, and he got out, and he was watching. So we were relieved that we had actually gone to the courts, and we were very nervous whenever my dad was around, especially my coach, because my dad was very aggressive. And I had sprained my ankle, and so I had an ankle problem still, and I was playing with it. And so I just wasn't running as fast, and my dad was ridiculing me and pushing me and saying, what a baby. Look, Brad, he can't run fast. Look at him, oh, poor baby. Can't play tennis. Can't run, his ankle hurts. He was doing that over and over and over. And then finally I was so embarrassed, and I just couldn't take it anymore, and I lost control, and I told my dad, "Why don't you just shut up?" And
Had you ever said anything like that to your dad before?
no, never. And my coach was just like this, and I looked at him, my dad. You couldn't believe the transformation of my dad. He just turned red, and he didn't know what to do with himself. He grabbed the ball, and he threw it at me, and the ball hit me.
Could you have stepped out of the way?
Yes.
Why didn't you?
I wanted the ball to hit me.
Why?
Because I had screwed up, and I was hoping. My dad he lost control there, and I wanted to dissipate, and maybe, if he was going to throw a ball at me, I was going to make sure I got hit by the ball. So I got hit by the ball, and he told me to come over, and I kind of walked up to him. He led me over to the back of the car.
How did he lead you over to the back of the car?
He just grabbed me by the arm and led me. Didn't drag me or anything, because my coach was right there. And he put me in the back of the car. As soon as I got in the back of the car, he just punched me straight in the face. And I went back against the window, and he grabbed my neck. He said, "Don't ever embarrass me like that again, or I'll kill you."
What did you do?
Well, I didn't do anything. I just sat there. I had blood all over my shirt.
I can't hear you. Move up. I asked you what you did.
I was in shock. I didn't do anything. I nodded my head, and he tightened his grip on my neck, and he says, "Is that perfectly clear?" And I said, "Yes."
Did you ever talk back to him again?
No, I never talked back to him again. And I didn't see my coach for almost a week. And
What happened to your lip?
It
From where-
it split open completely, and we went back home. Long drive home, and my mother basically attended me, and we just put gauze in the whole thing.
When you
healed
got
that.
home, did you get out of the car with your dad, or did he get out?
No, he got out first. I was really in shock, and I just sat there. I didn't know what the limo driver was going to do. I didn't want him to see me. I was embarrassed. I didn't know what Brad was going to say later. I just sat in the car. He got out immediately, walked to the house.
Let me back you up. After he hit you in the face, did you leave immediately, or did your dad get out of the car?
Oh, he got out of the car, left me there, and he went and he finished picking up the balls with Brad. And apparently he told Brad, "I'm really sorry that this happened. It'll never happen again." And so then eventually, as soon as he picked up finishing the balls, he came back. He told the driver, "Let's go."
Were you crying?
I was sobbing, and blood everywhere, and just staying near the door.
When you got home then? You said your dad got out first. Your dad got out first?
Right, he got out first. He went into the house, and then he came back out to settle something with the driver. He told me, "Come on." And I got out, and we got my rackets out of the trunk, and I went into the house, and my mom was waiting for me. She had stuff ready to take care of me.
She asked you what happened?
No. She knew what happened. I'm sure my dad told her.
She say anything to you about it?
No, she never said anything about it.
She get in a fight with your dad over it?
No.
Was it ever discussed?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Sustained.
Was it ever discussed in your presence?
It
Did
was-
you ever hear your mom and dad talk about it, or your mom ask you anything about
No,
it?
I thought maybe I was going to be going to the hospital, and she said, no, you don't need to go. It's going to be all right. It'll be fine. And it was, basically, other than the scar that was left.
You were 16, 17 years old?
I was 17.
Why didn't you hit your dad back?
I just didn't hit my dad back.
Were you mad at him?
No, I was in shock, really. 'Cause I hadn't been punched like that. I hadn't been punched like that ever, actually. And I would never hit my dad back. That would be crazy.
Why?
My dad was just a very I just don't think he would have. I don't know what he would have done to me. I would not have just hit my dad or really got angry with my dad either. He didn't tolerate that. That's why that happened to my brother when my brother said no. And only my mother fought back with my dad. Nobody I ever saw in my life. And when he said that, I believed him. And he took the way people treated him very seriously. And he did not treat my father with disrespect.
Did you ever see anybody, except you said your mother, treat your father with disrespect?
Never. And yeah, some coaches might argue with him on tennis, be about as far as he would tolerate, and those people usually got fired.
Your Honor, could we stop at this point before I go into another section?
All right, and you'll be ready with both juries tomorrow morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll recess until tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Don't discuss this case with anyone. Don't form any final opinions about it. Don't permit yourselves to be exposed to anything outside of the courtroom that in any way relates to this case. And we'll see you all back here tomorrow at 9 o'clock. The defendants are both in court with their lawyers. The people are represented. Juries are not present. The court staff informs me that there was some problem today. Is that right?
Mr. Menendez has had a cold over the weekend. It's gotten progressively worse. He was not feeling all that well yesterday. I spoke with him last night on the phone, and evidently it's gone into his sinuses and his ears, and he's in considerable pain from that. He has trouble breathing. I talked to him last night about whether he felt he could go forward today or not. I stopped on the way and bought some Actifed for him to hopefully get him through it, but evidently the problem with his ear and his sinuses now has gotten even worse. And so since this may be his last day of testimony on direct, and it's obviously very important, he does not feel well enough to proceed. And so I would ask at this time that we continue the matter till tomorrow, and I would also ask the court for an order that he be seen in the clinic so that he can get some antibiotics, since it doesn't seem to be clearing up on its own.
Well, just generally, what is the symptoms that you experience? What are they?
Ear and sinus and fever.
Well, what is the ear and the sinus? What is the problem?
Just pain in my ear, and the sinus is it's like a sinus infection where I can't breathe through my nose.
And you also say you have a fever.
Yesterday I was burning with fever the whole day, and today is bad.
Okay, and why do you feel that this would interfere with your ability to go ahead with your testimony?
When I was talking yesterday, I was having problems thinking clearly, and I was struggling through the day, and talking to Jill last night was worse, and I just feel very spacey and very hard to focus on anything. And I went ahead yesterday, but I really felt hindered, and I'm concerned for today.
Well, what I will do is, as soon as the sheriff can arrange for a vehicle to do so, we'll transfer you, or transport you rather, to a local facility here and have you examined, and we'll get a report. I'm not going to excuse anybody, but we'll get a report to see how you're doing, and perhaps they can, if necessary, prescribe something for you at that point. So we'll take a recess, and as soon as the sheriff can arrange for that transportation, we'll do that. And once we get a report, hopefully this morning, we'll be in a better position to determine whether you can proceed or not. All right, then we'll be in recess until we get that report, and we'll let the jurors take a break as well. All right, we're back in session. The defendant is returned. Lyle Menendez and all counsel are present, and it's my understanding that Mr. Menendez has been transported by the sheriff to a local hospital and examined by an emergency room physician, and prescribed some medication to deal with his complaints. It's my understanding that there was nothing really found other than a very slight rise in his body temperature, just slightly over the normal, and that otherwise he appeared to be in good condition. Is there any reason why we can't proceed this afternoon?
My understanding that the doctor gave him, and I wanted to see the prescriptions, I believe the doctor gave him 2 prescriptions. One is a decongestant because of the stuffiness that he has in his sinuses and ears and nose, and the other is a stomach medication for a stomach flu. I just had a moment to talk to Mr. Menendez when he came out, so clearly he's got physical ailments that the doctor felt that he needs medication for. He doesn't feel well.
These were obviously the doctor's response to the complaints of, and he responded by making these prescriptions. The question is whether or not you feel that you can proceed today. We've lost several days already in the trial, and certainly the court doesn't want to force a defendant in a case to testify when his condition wouldn't permit him to testify fully and completely. And but then again, people do all sorts of things, go to work and function with minor ailments, and this does appear to be a rather minor condition. So really, why can't we proceed?
Your Honor, he proceeded yesterday. Although he didn't feel well, he expressed the complaints to me. I asked him if he thought he could go forward. He said he would. I knew he was uncomfortable yesterday. Last night he felt worse. He's now been prescribed medication for both cold and stomach flu. He does not feel well enough to go forward, and I do not feel comfortable at all having someone with a stomach flu and cold testify in a capital case.
Well, again, these are complaints, not necessarily what his condition is. He says he has these conditions, and not necessarily these are.
We operate on the assumption that he is lying about
No one is saying that, but you say because the doctor prescribed these things, this is his condition, and that doesn't follow. It's just the doctor's response to complaints. That's normally the situation when one goes to a doctor.
He has described his condition. He has not missed a single day of trial to date. He hasn't, we could have, I think obviously the court would have given us additional time on Friday, but we were ready to go forward. We went forward Friday afternoon. We're ready to go forward now. I don't think any of us want to prolong this process any longer than necessary. It's not an easy process. And Mr. Menendez is not the kind of person who gives up in the face of pain. I think that his childhood history substantiates that. He was reluctant. I talked to him last night. He talked about the complaints, that he's got a headache, that his ears are clogged, that he's having trouble breathing, he feels feverish, he's tired. He's got some stomach problems. I understand the concerns that the court has about delays, but it seems to me that to give him a day or two to recover from physical ailments is not an unrealistic request. In view of the fact, I don't think any counsel, by virtue of their health problems, and everybody's had them, and both defendants have had some, nobody has missed a day of this since we've been here doing pre-trial motions last February. So this is not a pattern of conduct. He's not, in my experience, somebody who complains. He's just the opposite. And if he expresses difficulty, then I personally take him at his word, and I'd be very uncomfortable proceeding.
Right. In regards to this request for a day or two, at this point, I'm not inclined to go ahead any further than deal with today's situation. Did the people wish to be heard on this at all? All right, since we are at the noon hour, I will give Mr. Menendez the opportunity to deal with this situation by taking the medication that has been prescribed for him. And hopefully by tomorrow he will be in a condition to proceed and not cause us to have any further delays. So we'll have the jurors come in, I'll explain to them the situation, and then we'll excuse them for the balance of the day. Would you state your name again for the record, please?
Joseph Lyle Menendez.
All right, I'll remind you that you're still under oath, and you may continue your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Menendez, the other day we were talking about the expectations that your family had for you, particularly your father. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he had expectations of you, particularly with regard to sports. Is that correct?
Yes.
But he also had plans for you in terms of where you'd go to school, where you would work, etc. Is that correct?
My whole life.
Who was going to make the decisions as to which schools you would go to?
Objection, Vegas time.
Who made the decision as to where you went to high school?
I would say my dad, but I really don't know if it's my dad and mom or my dad.
Did you make it?
No.
Who made the decision as to where you went to college?
That was my dad.
Did you want to go to Princeton?
It was fine with me.
Did you ever express an interest in going somewhere else?
Yes.
Where did you want to go to school?
I wanted to go to school at University of Pennsylvania or somewhere closer to where my girlfriend was going to go to school.
And did you apply to University of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Were you accepted?
Yes.
Did you tell your father you wanted to go there to school?
Yes.
And yet you ended up at Princeton.
Right.
Left to make your own selection, where would you have gone to school?
University of Pennsylvania.
Did your parents also express strong opinions with regard to who your girlfriends were?
Very much so.
Who was your first girlfriend?
Stacy Feldman.
And is that the picture that's up on the board?
Yes.
And what years were you and Stacy together?
Until I was 18, I started between 15 and 16.
And did you consider this a serious relationship?
Yes.
Did you talk to her about marriage?
Yes.
Did you two pick out the names for the children you were going to have?
Objection, irrelevant.
Yes.
And did you buy Stacy presents?
Yes.
What kind of presents did you buy her?
Jewelry, flowers every Friday,
What kind of flowers would you give her every Friday?
roses every Friday,
What kind of jewelry did you buy her?
bracelets, and like a few hard pendants. Got her an emerald hard pendant for her birthday, and lots of gifts, and a whole family of stuffed animals.
When you say a whole family of stuffed animals, how many stuffed animals did you get her?
Like 20 of these white teddy bears that we called Pookies.
Why did you call them Pookies?
That was because of the Garfield cartoon. He has a little white or a little teddy bear he calls Pookie. When he gets insecure, he always gets his teddy bear. So I got her that because we were apart so much as I lived with my parents. And
Did you think that animals would be comforting to her?
yes, they were soft, and they had made me feel safer. And when you're feeling lost, and her parents were divorced, and there were problems, and for me it was very comforting. It gave me, you could have your own little family there in the room with you and play. And so I slowly built up a family for her.
Were the animals that you had like family for you?
Yes. They were, especially early on, but really all the way through my teenage years, sometimes they got me through the day.
How did they get you through the day?
Just taking me out of where I was and into this other world of these friends was very important to me. And as I got older, it was embarrassing because really, stuffed animals are for little kids. But they were just important to me.
Is it embarrassing for you to talk about it?
Yes.
At one point, did Stacy tell you that she was going to break up with you?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 18.
And how did you feel about that?
Objection, irrelevant.
Did you buy her something then, a big present to try and...
Bought her a fur coat, or actually I made payments on a fur coat
How
that
much?
I wanted to give to her.
How much was what did you have to pay to get the fur coat?
I put down $150 or something like that.
And you were going to make payments?
Right.
Did she take the coat?
No.
And were you working at the time?
No.
Where was the money going to
I
come
was training, playing tennis and stuff, but I wasn't working.
Where did the money come for all these animals and jewelry and fur coats?
My parents, they didn't necessarily give me the money for those purposes, but there was just money. My house had money just laying around, and
What do you mean just laying around?
my dad, every time he came home, he took out his pockets and he'd throw his money and his credit cards and everything on the counter, and just wouldn't pick it up the next day. My mom didn't do anything, and there would just be money around. And sometimes I would use that, but my mom and dad gave me quite a bit of money frequently.
Did you have use of credit cards?
Well, I had the money access card,
How-
which I used mostly. I had a credit card also, my mom's credit card that I was authorized to use, but mostly I just used the money access machine where you just put in the card and take out $100 or something, and it was never a problem.
How old were you when you were authorized to use the money access card?
It was when we started in Pennington, since 6th grade, 12.
And did you have phone credit cards that you used?
We had the Sprint number and an AT&T number at one point. I don't remember when we had each, but and there was a company credit card, and I always used those. We traveled a lot, and so I just always use them.
Would you travel sometimes without your parents?
Sometimes.
For
Certainly later on I did.
after the relationship ended with Stacy, who was your next girlfriend?
Jamie.
Yeah. Did your parents approve of the relationship with Stacy?
No.
Did they approve of the relationship with Jamie?
Much less so.
And what did they disapprove of with regard to your relationship with Jamie?
Number one, they felt that she was after family money. She was a gold digger. And they felt the same thing about Stacy, although that was more my mom's feeling that she did not want me to be with any girls from her broken home, and the parents lived apart. And Stacy's mother had a boyfriend, and my mom was constantly complaining about that. But with Jamie, it was that she was after the money, and also she was always dressed in tennis clothes, so she had tennis skirts on and things of that sort, and my dad thought she was a slut. And my mother was just sort of beside herself about Jamie, and the first time Jamie presented herself to my family, she was dressed like that, and apparently my mom heard about it, and it just started from day one.
Did your dad tell you at some point of something he had done to try to interfere with that relationship?
Yes.
And what was that?
Well, the worst thing he did
Was Jamie a tennis player?
she was a tennis player, and for a short period of time on a tennis tour because of my dad.
And how did that happen?
She was working in Alabama and at a tennis club, and my dad arranged secretly for her to be sponsored, because I was now at Princeton, and she was coming to see me a lot, and whenever I could, I went to see her, and this was upsetting my dad greatly. It's distracting me. So his idea was to send her off on the pro tour around the world. So he financed that through other people that approached her as if they were friends of the club, and helped finance her some of the people were financing legitimately, but the bulk of it was my dad's money. We didn't know it at the time. I found out later from him, and other relatives of mine knew about it and talked to me about it also.
Your next girlfriend after Jamie was Christy, is that right?
Right.
And at some point, did Christy tell you that she thought she was pregnant?
Yes.
And did the relationship end with her shortly after that?
Objection, Vegas to time.
In the spring of '89, did you have a relationship with a young woman named Christy?
Yes.
And after you found out, after she told you that she might be pregnant, did the relationship end shortly after that?
Yes.
And did your father tell you he had done something in relationship to that relationship?
Yes.
And what was that?
He had approached her, and he said he had approached her and paid her and basically intimidated her into getting an abortion.
After that, did you date a young woman named Charmaine?
Yes.
And how did you happen to meet Charmaine?
Well, after I broke up with Christy, actually the same day, or the next day, that I was sort of very down about it, and my dad came up to me and said, you know, I have a girl you should date, and you should meet her and give her a call. She's wonderful, and she may be going to Princeton, and this is the girl for you. And he gave me the number and told me to call, and so I called.
How did your dad know her?
She was the daughter of a business associate of his.
And is this the first relationship that your parents approved of? Did you?
The only one.
In addition to going to Princeton, had she won some other title?
Yes. Dad said she was Rose Bowl queen. She was a beauty queen winner for the Rose Bowl parade. And
I'm showing you what we've marked as 243. Is this Charmaine?
yes, it is.
Now, the picture we put up here of your mother, is this when she won a beauty title?
Yes, Miss Oaklawn.
And is this the girl your dad picked for you?
Yes.
Did your dad say he wanted you to marry her?
No.
Who was going to make the decision about who you married?
Well, Dad, we talked about that, and Dad said that he hadn't really decided what I was going to be doing exactly, as far as whether it was going to be politics or whether it was going to be business or exactly what. And once I had figured that out and was set in that, we would find out.
Who was going to figure this out, whether it was business or politics?
My dad, I wasn't going to be able to do it without my dad, and he was, he hadn't decided yet. And at the time we talked about this, I was a tennis player and thought that I was going to be going in that direction, but
So since he hadn't decided yet whether you were going to go into business or politics, what was the connection between that and you getting married?
well, once we figured that out, we could decide what was the most, what was the appropriate girl. Like Charmaine seemed to be good for politics. But it just, the temperament of the girl, and just, obviously he would never want me to date somebody like Christy, who was too, just He didn't think she was smart enough, and if I was going to be at business functions and so on, his experiences, somebody that's smart, knows the right things to say, will just sort of follow along with him, like my mother.
Now, who was going to pick this wife? Was it going to be you?
I don't know. We just talked about it in the abstract, and I imagine it would. He would approve of whatever. I just expected that he would eventually approve of a particular girl. We never really discussed that. I know that the choices I had made were disastrous according to them, and no way was I marrying these girls.
Did you love these girls? Did you love Stacy
Yeah, yes.
and Jamie?
Yes.
And Christy was a shorter relationship, I take it.
Yes.
Was this okay with you, that your dad was going to decide what your future was going to be and approve who you married?
Yes.
You talked about going to Princeton and that you had applied to other schools as well. Did you fill out the college applications?
No.
Did you pick the schools that you applied to?
No, except that I asked that University of Pennsylvania be one of them.
And who picked the schools you were going to apply to?
I don't know. I mean, my mother was in charge of all the applications. She sent them out, she got the forms, and she filled them out. So I don't know if she was picking them or my dad. More than likely it would be my dad.
You said she filled out the applications.
Right.
Who wrote the essays that went with the applications?
My mom, but I don't know. I got the essays in essay form. So I copied them.
You didn't write them.
No.
Did you assume that this is the way everybody applied to college?
Overall.
And my mom, the main essay was about my mom's dad, and I'm pretty sure she wrote that because it was all her personal knowledge of him. So that was probably her.
Did you think that this is the way everybody applied to college?
I thought it was. And then I talked to some of my friends, and Stacy filled out her own applications, but I thought that was because her parents didn't get along and the relationships were there were, it was a broken home, and she sort of went back and forth. I thought it was because she had no choice or something, but I assumed that that's what happened. All through my tennis sports life, I never filled out an entry form. My mom did everything with regards to that. I pretty much had no idea. Even my dad didn't have an idea of what tournament I was going to be playing next, unless it was a major championship and we knew it was coming up. We would find out like 2 weeks before. My mom would say, you have this coming up, and then my dad would start preparing. So it was the same with school.
And when you were in high school, who did your homework for you in high school? My mother did a lot of it. My dad wrote some of the papers if he wanted to. I did. Otherwise, I didn't really do homework as much as I did studying for tests, papers, things that had to be handed in like that. Pretty much just got a grade off for the homeworks, or my dad had somebody do them all at the end of the year, and I handed them in late and just got a half grade. And this
hurt my grades somewhat. But I seem to get a lot of leniency from the teachers because, I mean, of all the sports activities and all the things I was doing after school.
When you went to Princeton, did things change? Did you start doing all your own homework and papers?
It didn't change.
And who was doing the work for you in college? Was your dad doing some of the work for you in college?
Yes.
And would he decide which things he wanted to do?
Yes.
And did you have an assignment to write a paper about a work by Machiavelli?
I don't know if it was the do about Machiavelli or they gave you a bunch of choices. I think they gave you choices, and Dad picked Machiavelli. That was just one of the things we had talked about early on in our life and all the way through, the kind of historical battles and things like that. So he, I was always reporting to him, and he was always wanting to know exactly what the assignments were, and especially since there was a lot of choices at Princeton as to what essays you would do or what electives, and so Dad wanted to know the choices, so he could, if he saw something that he could do easy, then he could just do it for me, and I could save the time. Then I had more time for.
And did you turn in a paper based on a work by Machiavelli, a work called Prince?
Yes.
And, Your Honor, I have an exhibit I'd like to mark collectively as 244 in the prosecution. May I approach?
Yes.
Mr. Menendez, I'm going to show you what we've marked as 244A, which appears to be a five-page typewritten paper. And I ask if you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is a paper I did for one of my classes at Princeton in the fall.
Is this the paper we've been talking about?
Yes.
Regarding Machiavelli? You say
This is one of the ones my dad did.
And marking 244B, which is a handwritten document. 10 pages in length, and I ask you if you recognize the handwriting.
This is my dad's. I think this is the first copy of it that he wrote on live entertainment stationery.
And is this the first draft of the paper you eventually turned in?
Yes. And this,
showing-
his secretary typed this, and they FedExed to me, and I handed it in.
Showing you what I've marked 244C. I'd ask you to take a look at that. It's a two-page typewritten document with handwritten corrections on it.
Yes, this was dictated. At least that's what my understanding is that it was dictated.
And is it a draft of this same paper?
Yes.
And in looking at the contents of this paper, does it reflect certain philosophies which your dad discussed with you?
Oh, very, almost exactly.
I'd like to direct you to the last paragraph. On the fourth page of this document. Does that paragraph particularly reflect the philosophy that your dad taught you?
Section number one.
Which one? The bottom one?
Yes.
And the middle one? Okay, the bottom one, yes. And the middle one.
Could you just read the bottom one for us?
Machiavelli's view of personal trust and loyalty is consistent with his overall premise. While it would be desirable to achieve personal trust and loyalty by one's subjects, it would be dangerous and foolish to base one's rule and the stability of the state on this premise. For personal trust and loyalty without the ever-constant presence of pain would, in his judgment, be set aside whenever it was convenient for the general population to do so.
Is that reflective of the type of instruction your dad gave you?
Yes, and he did this, I got a bad grade because he did it without the book. So I had the book in New Jersey, and I kept telling him, you should buy a copy of the book. And he said, oh, no, I know all this.
And were you criticized because this was not truly a reflection of the book, but more a reflection of his own philosophy?
Captain Bank.
Yeah,
Did you get a bad grade on it for a particular reason?
yes, the teacher said that it was interesting, but that it was basically just my ruminations and not reflective of Machiavelli's actual work in The Prince.
And whose ruminations actually are contained in that paper?
My dad's.
Were you suspended from Princeton?
Yes.
And were you suspended from Princeton because you copied another student's work and turned it in as your own?
Yes.
Did you call your dad and tell you that you were in trouble because of that?
Did I call and tell him?
Yes.
Yes.
And what was his reaction?
He didn't think I was even serious when I called him and explained to him. I didn't want to call him. I was very nervous about it. My Aunt Terry said, no, you got to tell your dad this is serious. And,
Was he upset at the idea of you being thrown out of Princeton? Or
oh,
suspended?
very much so, yeah.
Was he upset because you had cheated?
No, he didn't think that, he didn't think that I had cheated. He basically thought it was a joke and that they could jeopardize his son's life over a lab report was beyond his comprehension, and thought that the hearing was just supposed to be just like one of those things that just gets to that point, you go through the motions and then it's over with. And then when I got suspended, he was shocked and immediately flew to Princeton to meet with the president to get him to reverse it. And the president wouldn't do that, and although he met with my dad. And my dad just thought the Princeton system was screwed up.
Why?
Because I was there to meet people, make contacts, get the degree, and that the president of the university should realize that, and that's why he's the president supposedly, and it's not about doing lab reports.
But you were suspended.
Yes, I copied the guy's work.
I'm sorry.
I copied he was my lab partner, but I copied his work, and so I got suspended for a year.
And when was that?
That was January of '88.
And did you stay away from school for a year then?
Yes.
And you returned in January of '89?
Yes.
Or February of '89?
Yeah,
Whenever the school-
February, I think it starts.
During that period of time, did you go to work for your dad?
Yes.
And how long did you work for your dad?
A few months, like 2.5 months,
Now, was
maybe
this-
3 months at the most.
Was this during the summer?
Yes.
And were you working full-time?
No.
How-
4 hours in the morning.
And what was your job title?
Didn't really have a title. I was just sort of a management trainee.
What type of jobs did your dad give you?
I had a bunch of different projects that I was supposed to complete. I was supposed to, the business was paper-oriented. The whole accounting system was done on paper, and I was supposed to figure out a way to computerize the accounting department.
Did you know anything about accounting?
No, but my dad was a CPA, so it was a big interest of his, and he felt that his company should be done on computers, although he didn't know anything about computers, and I didn't know anything about computers either.
So you didn't know anything about accounting, right?
Right,
You didn't know anything about computers.
right.
Did you know intimately about your dad's business?
No, but I was involved in meetings and things like that, so I got an understanding.
Did you have either the knowledge or the skills to accomplish this job?
No, I failed that job pretty miserably, although I did meet with all the accounting people, and they were pretty annoyed that I was taking their time. And I tried to work out the spreadsheets and figure it out. But I didn't get anywhere.
Did the accounting people seem to resent you being there?
Oh, yes.
Okay. What other
Sure.
projects did you have there?
I was in charge of, the worst one was I was in charge of reviewing the expense statements of the distributors in the field, what they spent on food and tolls, and check it over and see if I thought there were things that seemed improper or excessive. And they had ways to check if I needed to go that far, and then single out the ones that seemed to be different from others and excessive and report them.
Why do you say that was the worst one?
Because it was I felt like I was prying into. I just felt like it was no business of mine. It was just an awful job to have to do over people's expenses statements and figure out which ones are being excessive. And these people, knowing my dad, these people would be fired or demoted or something of that sort. And so it was an awful job, and basically it was a short one because I seemed to think that everything was in order.
Did you have a number of other projects while you were there without naming them? Did you just have a number of other projects?
Yes.
Were you trained to do, did you have the training or the experience or the knowledge to do any of the projects you were given?
No.
Did you succeed at anything you did that summer working for your dad?
No, it was basically getting in the way.
And how about the people you worked around? Did they like you? Did they appreciate
Oh,
your
no.
presence?
No, I mean, obviously they resented me, and I was just the chairman's son, and they actually gave me an office in the executive section, and I had to write reports on the state of the company as to how people were doing and walk around and talk to people, and nobody wanted to talk to me.
Did you get to observe your dad around the other people at work?
Yes.
Did they seem to like him and be comfortable around him?
Oh, no, they were.
Definitely were striking us.
No, it was basically like a company ruled, like a little fiefdom, and he was sort of at the top, and everybody else was like equal underneath him. And they barely got moments with my dad, but when he came in, everybody would be quiet, scurry into their offices, and the meetings were just incredible amount of pressure for everybody, including myself. He was very, he humiliated. I saw him humiliate people. I saw him dismiss people, not answer them when they asked him a question if he didn't feel it was worthy of an answer.
Yeah.
And he just, he was the guy that made things happen. He was like the Wonder Boy. And he really was. It was like magic what he did, and the stock just skyrocketed. So, they paid him millions of dollars. And
Did he
he was
seem
it.
to, were there some people that he treated with respect?
Well, he brought, yes, somewhat. The people he brought from New York, who were, I guess, used to this kind of behavior. People, he brought a couple people from New York, and he would treat them a little bit more respect.
Did people seem to be afraid of him?
They were terrified of my dad. He was really, they didn't want to get fired, but they didn't want to get humiliated or cut down. And
How did this compare to your home?
compared to my home,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't as, he didn't treat them as bad as, it wasn't as bad as the home, but it was, I didn't see him hit anybody or anything like that, but he just, it was just a state of, it was like a oppressed state at the office, so in that way it was similar.
Over the course of your life, did you see your dad in social settings?
Yeah,
Around relatives and
yes.
friends? Did he seem to be somebody who was in control in those situations also?
I wouldn't say he was in control. He just, when he was there, it was just a different atmosphere. And my dad was it was like a lonely, it seemed like a very lonely existence. In fact, I talked to him about the fact that it was a lonely existence, because people were afraid to talk to him. And then he would come into a room, people would kind of be quiet. I see him with family gatherings, and people kind of move out of the way. And adults, sometimes, and the little kids were scared of him. Sometimes, like one of the female cousins would be willing to come up close to him and talk, and he would be very flirtatious and charming. But it was very much a tense sort of atmosphere around him, always.
Your parents moved to California in 1986, is that correct?
Yes.
End of the summer?
I think it was earlier, a little bit earlier. I think it was before the end of the summer, but
Sometime in
it could have been the end of the summer.
Sometime in the summer of 1986? And you stayed in New Jersey?
Yes.
And you're now 18 years old, is that correct?
Right.
And did you stay living in the Mountain Avenue house?
To clarify,
Mountain View
age
house.
18 was in 1986. Like I
Correct.
said now.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, thank you. 1986, you're 18 years old. Did you stay living in the Mountain View house?
Yes.
And did you take over things like paying the utilities, the phone, running the house?
No. We had just moved our things in, and my mom settled in, and then the family left home. And the home was still there, and the things were still there, but the family wasn't. And I was still there because I was supposed to go to school that fall. So I stayed there.
And who took care of the running of the house, the paying the bills, that type of thing?
My mom did.
And
She ran all the family's finances, expenses. Everything was left up to my mother, except one credit card of my dad's that he handled through the office because he couldn't afford to have her miss payments and things like that.
and did she miss payments often?
All the time, yeah.
And when you were living in this house in Princeton, and they're in California, did she miss payments with regard to utilities and phone and things like that?
Yeah, the phone would go off, the lights would just go out, no electricity. We didn't have electricity for a few weeks in the winter. At one point, the phone I would usually try and get back on right away. She just, she was really in bad shape that fall. And I think whenever she got into those states of real depressed, sort of overwhelmed states, I think that was the cause of missing the bills.
Why was she in real bad shape that fall?
Because of my father's affairs she had discovered, and she was suicidal.
What do you mean she had discovered?
Well, apparently she had discovered him because she would, it was Louise. She would constantly be yelling about Louise, hounding my dad with pictures that she had taken personally of Louise in New York, her walking down streets and stuff. Credit card receipts all spread out of Louise's, things my dad had supposedly bought for Louise. And, trying to track him down around the world, because I guess he and Louise met around the world. And she was just, really crazed with this. And
Are you talking about just the fall of '86, or?
no, this continued for about a year and a half. A year. And she would always bring it up, but the really just attacking my dad, suicidal behavior was more of that period. Then it sort of changed a little.
And how would you know that she was in this kind of shape? Did you see it, or?
Well, my brother would call me continually,
Was he upset?
frightened about her behavior or what she had done, or he was always upset about it, as far as being depressed about it. And I would see it whenever I flew out there, which was pretty frequently.
And did they fly back? Did your parents fly back pretty often during this period?
Very often. Our home was Princeton, basically, and that's where I was. That's where my Aunt Terry lived, all our relatives, where I went to school. That's where everybody was. And so they had moved to California, so they continually came back. My dad would pop in all the time, not all the time, unexpected, I would say, at the very least once a month, but sometimes more than that. Just show up at my Aunt Terry's house because he would have business meetings in New York or in different areas, and then would always stop by.
How often were you talking to your father on the phone during, say, the period of 1986? For the year after they moved, how often were you talking to your dad on the phone?
I talked to my dad a couple times a week.
And what about your mom?
I didn't have a lot of conversations with my mom, but I would be at Aunt Terry's and she would be calling constantly.
And did they seem to be asking questions about what you were doing or what was going on?
Well, with my dad,
Rephrase the question, please.
In your conversations with your father, what would be the subject matter?
pretty much the same as it had always been, just exactly what I was doing with sports. Probably more detail than usual, since he was kind of far away. I got the feeling that he wanted to know more exactly what I was up to as far as, you know, if I was changing if the coaches were changing my strategies that he didn't like, or he just was seemed to be concerned that I might drift off into some strange strategy or something that he didn't like. So I pretty much kept him up to date week to week. That's exactly what was going on.
And you said that you had conversations with him about what was going on in school and what papers, that kind of thing?
Yes.
At some point, did you get a call from your brother, Erik, that he'd found a particular letter that
Yes.
was upsetting to him?
Yes.
And do you remember when that was?
That was in right after I'd broken up with Stacy that fall.
So this would have been
Right before I met Jamie.
So this would have been fall of '86?
Right.
And what did your brother tell you?
Objection, hearsay.
Is it being offered for the truth?
No, for state of mind, Your Honor.
All right, the statement.
Then it's not received for the truth of what was said, just to reflect the state of mind of the declarant, is that it, or the recipient of the
Recipient.
conversation? Okay, just to reflect the state of mind of Mr. Lyle Menendez, and is received only for that limited purpose.
Did your brother read a letter to you?
Yes.
And was that letter written by your mother?
Yes.
And what did that letter say, basically?
Basically said that she had no other way out, that she couldn't handle the shame of a divorce from Dad, that her one of them, something about that her fury that her mother had allowed herself to get a divorce, and it had ruined her childhood in a sense, and she was sort of an outcast because of that, and she would not allow that to happen, and so she was sorry that she had to take this way out, and that she was leaving, and that she realized that Jose, my dad, never loved her, and got what he needed from Louise, and she couldn't give it to him, and she was tired of it, so she was checking out. That's basically what she was saying. And
What did that letter mean to you?
Well, I thought it was clearly a suicide letter. She wasn't just leaving town, and my brother didn't realize that at first, and I felt I should tell him that's what I thought it was.
Did you do anything?
With regards to my mom?
Yes.
Yeah. I told Erik that I would, to put the letter, he had just found it, and so I told him to just put it back where he found it on the coffee table thing with the books, and pretend that he hadn't found it, and that I would try, and I would talk to Mom, and we would try to lift her spirits and tell her that we would side with her in a divorce and let her realize that that's what she should do. And so that's what I told him I would do, and that's what I did.
And did she express appreciation for your concern?
No, she was just extremely upset and accusatory that I was trying to break up her marriage. How could I suggest that she was unhappy? She said she never regretted a day of being married to my father.
Did you know she was seeing a therapist at the time?
Yes.
And did she say anything to you about pills that she was taking? And I'm talking about the period between '86 and '89. Did you ever have a conversation with her about pills she was taking?
Yes.
What did she say to you with regard to that?
She said that she was taking, this was at my Aunt Terry's house, and she said that she was taking 13 pills a day, and she showed them to me.
Whose fault was it she was taking those pills?
Objection calls for speculation.
Did she tell you?
Yeah, she told me that I had to start doing better and stop upsetting my dad so much because he was coming down on her, and the whole thing was causing her so much stress. She was having to take these pills. It was actually a nice conversation.
What was nice about it?
Well, she was, my mother never reached out to me, and she came to me and said, and she looked very, very sad, and wanted my help to help her not have to take these pills, basically. And I tried to tell her that, I thought things would be fine, and there had been a lot of stressful times that spring, but I thought things were going fine.
Did you know that all of this was because of the affair?
Objection calls for speculation.
Rephrase the question.
Did you have information based on what your brother had told you and what you'd seen that her condition was because of finding?
Right, I knew that. I knew that it was because of Louise, and.
But she was saying it was because of you.
Right, but.
Why was that nice?
Because she was reaching out to me.
At some point during this period from 86 to 89, did your brother tell you your mother bought a rifle?
Objection, hearsay, you're just
Sustained.
This is state of mind.
All right. I'm sorry?
irrelevant.
All right, the objection as to relevancy is overruled. If there is an answer, it is received only to reflect the state of mind of the witness here.
Did your brother tell you at some point in time that your brother
Yes.
bought a rifle?
Yes, in the summer of '88.
And did your mother have guns already?
Yes.
What kind of guns did she have already?
She had her rifles.
Were you concerned about the fact that she'd bought this rifle?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because I felt this whole period she was very much out of control, and she was having the same rages. She was extremely unstable, and seemed to be having that conflict with Louise with my dad, and very mad at the world, and was buying a new rifle, and I was concerned.
You said something about, at some point, seeing pictures of Louise. Is that right?
Yes.
And did your mother tell you how, excuse me, how she got those pictures of Louise?
I saw them twice, once with her showing them to my dad, saying that she had taken these pictures, and another time from reading her journal entries that I found to help her deal with the alcoholism, and I guess it was her. I guess her therapist had asked her to write these journal entries because they were basically like written to him, and she was writing about how.
Objection, possible.
Objection sustained.
State of mind again, Your Honor.
All right, it would be received only for that purpose, the state of mind of the witness.
What information did you have with regard to what she had done in connection with Louise
I don't understand the
in
question.
the pictures?
That she had gone to New York and found the woman and followed her and took pictures of her to prove that she was visiting Dad.
Now, did the situation with Louise, your mother's concern over Louise, ever stop? Did she continue talking about Louise?
Yes.
And did she talk to your dad about Louise and what he had done in front of you?
She did, and like I said, in that later period, she did.
Was there an incident at the airport?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me about the incident at the airport?
Stretching Vegas to time.
When was the incident at the airport?
Incident at the airport was Christmas. Eric was going, let's see what year it was. Christmas of '88, I believe. Eric had a tournament in Arizona, and we were all at the airport because we were all going to the tournament. It was a tournament that took place over Christmas. And we were at the ticket counter buying the tickets, and there were not enough seats. Oh no, we had the little dog, Rudy. That's what it was. So we had the dog, Rudy, and they wouldn't take Rudy because he hadn't been checked in properly and something about that. In any case, they wouldn't take the dog. Something about that. And my dad volunteered at the counter that he would stay behind and we could fly, and he was willing to stay behind with the dog and take the next flight after he was properly checked. And my mother just flew off the handle in front of the lady at the ticket counter and said, "Oh, so you can meet your girlfriend Louise in the bar?" And said, no, I'm not that stupid. And just, it was a huge scene. My dad was just standing there with the dog and said, "Oh, okay, Kitty, we'll all wait. We'll all wait." And we did. We just purchased tickets for the next flight, and then we left with the dog.
Yeah. Did your dad's reaction surprise you?
It shocked me.
Why?
It was just part of it was really one of the beginning of a number of incidents where she was very openly aggressive with my dad, embarrassing him in front of people. This was just unbelievable in front of the ticket counter. And my dad's reaction was zero, just a mask of being conciliatory, and it was like he just gave in to my mom. And
Was this different than who he'd been earlier in their marriage?
if that had happened earlier, I only saw those things happen in the house, if that had happened in the house, he would have struck her.
And what if it would have happened in public earlier?
He would have done the same thing, but I don't know. She would never have done that in public to him earlier. Even when she was not really in control of herself, she wouldn't go out of the house unless she was at a state where, they wouldn't be in public together, where she was that out of control.
Was their relationship very different in California than what you had seen earlier?
It was completely different.
What was the change?
The change was that they were like more of a couple. Really, for the first time, I saw them as a couple in California, holding hands. My dad being very polite to her, basically agreeing to whatever she wanted, as far as where we would go, what we would do that day if it was something she wanted to do. Even went shopping with her at times. Just stuff that could never happened before. Couldn't even imagine it. And it was very strange.
Brenda, could we take a break here?
All right, we'll resume at 1:45, ladies and gentlemen. Don't discuss this case with anyone. Don't form any final opinions about it. And we'll resume at 15 minutes to 11. While the parties are all present, all counsel, the juries are not. Counsel wanted to discuss the matter.
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke with Mr. Menendez during the break, and he's indicated he's not feeling well. He's nauseous. He's having trouble concentrating. He doesn't feel well. We knew that this morning when he came in. He said he wanted to try and see if he could do it. He felt badly about not testifying yesterday, and he feels like he should do it if he possibly can, but he says he's just having trouble concentrating, and the nausea is not helping, and he can't go forward.
Well, have you actually vomited, or just you have the nauseous feeling, or what?
I was just feeling very dizzy, and I do have stomach problems. and I'm feeling nauseous.
Okay, when you say
I
dizzy,
haven't eaten anything, so I'm not vomiting at the moment.
okay, when you say dizzy or woozy, that's,
Yeah, it's woozy up there, and
and you can't concentrate, is that it?
that's the main problem.
Do you think
I
it-
just can't concentrate. I'm just having trouble processing the questions and answering.
Okay, as far as the wooziness or dizziness, is that because you haven't had anything to eat, you think, or feel that it's because of some problem with just some bug that you have?
Well, the doctor told me that I should try not to have anything solid to eat because he said that it will turn into vomiting, and so I should just drink liquids, and he told me what soups I could have at the jail and went through the list. So that's what I've been sticking to.
All right. And is it your belief then that you cannot continue at all today, or you want to wait until this afternoon to see if you feel better, or how do you want to do that?
I don't think I'm going to be able to continue today. I really was feeling bad this morning, but I just felt, I should go on. I feel pretty well.
All right, well, obviously, nobody is interested in having you proceed if you can't comprehend the questions and respond to them. Therefore, if that is your belief, is that right, that you can't really deal with that?
Yes.
Okay, then we'll have to recess the proceedings, and hopefully by Friday you'll have recovered from your ailment and be ready to proceed.